Welcome back, everyone, to the stream. ESA Cup Season 7, the Swiss stage went underway yesterday, and we are here back for 3 more games. You can see them down below. So before we get into those, let's just introduce ourselves. I'm Pastor, joined my Pooble to that side over there, and we are going to be taking you through these 3, starting us off, Joe, with Minions versus Zach Gaming.
Yep, should be a very interesting match here. You've got Minions who are, I guess, in name are current reigning champions. In spirit, things kind of get a bit messy with a lot of those players who did win last season, moving to another team, but still the name is where it really counts. So they've got a lot to prove here. This is still this first round of Swiss, so we're not on high or low matches yet. So all to really play for here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw some of those Swiss games yesterday. If we can just get the bracket up for that, we can see what happened. So if we have a look over here, the winners there were MDF. We had A. I think that's A7M. I'm going to be honest; it's a little bit small. Um, we had AGM and also 7S, who were taking the wins there over KS, Wii Sports, and Tracker Clan. So that's what all happened yesterday. If you need a quick refresher, today though, Minions versus that game. We've already said that Minions are sort of that team that won the league last season. They've also been putting in an impressive season this year, Joe, only losing 1 game, and that was in overtime to Yod.
Yeah, and that is sort of especially surprising considering it is a new sort of team. Sure, you've got Alex Nordy who won last season, but apart from that, it was sort of a total rebuild. And so far, we are seeing a lot of success early on. And sometimes that happens, sometimes you get sort of honeymoon periods, but as we get further into this competition, it is definitely worth sort of keeping an eye on that performance because a lot of times when these teams make big changes, sure, you get a lot of early success, but in the long term, the sort of flaws start coming through. So for Minions, I think this Swiss stage is going to be the real test to see how well this team is really built up.
Yeah, for sure. And if we then take a look at Zach Gaming, it's been a bit of a rockier sort of path for them through this season. They 3 wins, 2 losses, third in their group as opposed to Minions topping theirs. They beat Eagle Empire, they beat Mafia Squads, and they beat Entropy Gaming, and then they lost to EOS and the other team, Linus Defense League, which is that sort of ex Minions core. So they've kind of got both sides of the coin there now with this one. Last time when they played that sort of ex Minions core, it was 7-1 on Chalet. For their sake, hoping for a better performance this time around.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Zach Gaming is kind of that bang on mid table team, right? They've beaten everyone below them, but they're sort of being gate kept from those top 2 spots by those teams above them. So certainly a decent performance in the group stage. Nothing to really laugh at there, but they're kind of on a bit of a separate level from the other teams in that group above them, you would say. So this is their time to really prove themselves by sort of taking names, taking out that not taking out, but sending Minions to those lower matches early on and really sort of building a bit of momentum for themselves.
So let's just have a look at the map ban then, see where we are actually taking us inside of this one. 9 maps are in, 8 are out. We're left with Oregon, our favorite map here, Joe. And Oregon. Now, it's a very basic map. We know that, right? This map is very
Yep.
bread and butter. It's a map for fundamentals. And also, it's also been quoted as the place where good teams go to die. This is a map where upsets frequently happen just because it is just fundamentals. And after that, it's kind of a roll of the dice to see whether who wins. Obviously, there's more nuance to it than that. But from a very reduced perspective, you could say that it is a very even map, and it should be a very even map. Both teams should know how to play here, which means we do get the most sort of balanced games, and that's reflected in our social vote. We asked all of you at home who we thought was going to win, and if we have a look, it's 54% for Minions to 46% for Zach Gaming. Very, very close, and they didn't even know the map yet. So there you go.
Yeah, I honestly think that's a bit too close. I think sort of looking at the caliber of these teams, obviously it's not the minions you've seen last season, but they've still had a phenomenal start. You know, topping your group is nothing to really stop at. And Zach Gaming, on the other hand, have really shown to not really be able to contend with those tier teams. So I am surprised at how even this social vote is, considering just the pedigree of these two teams here. And of course, I'm not saying Zach Gaming can't do it, but Minions really should be looked at here as the odds-on favorite because they are just sort of they've performed at a much higher tier here, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. We can also look at where our production staff thought that this game was going to end up. We've got Bozamax, who also went with Minions, as did I. Voigt, our producer for today, going with Zach Gaming, as did a Hotnix. You chose the sensible option, Joe.
Yep.
Over there at the end, big up Hubel underscore with the Minions prediction. But it's actually, again, surprisingly more split than I would have expected, even among this production stuff. So maybe we're sleeping on Zach Gaming. Obviously, we saw them play against EOS on Sunday, and it didn't exactly go their way.
Yeah.
Perhaps they've got something different stored in their locker for this.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, as I agree with you. I really expected to see a clean sweep of Minions predictions here, but I guess maybe Zach Gaming will just leave the talking to the actual game itself, you know, do talking in the match, get that win potentially under their belts here as we are a little bit delayed. We're dealing with some issues with players joining, so we might head to a break fairly soon if that doesn't get resolved quick. We might there's some worst case scenarios that we might have to address soon, but hopefully this match will be played in front of us. I'd love to see Minions particularly play here,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a real underdog match for Zach Gaming here. I can't really stress that enough that Minions have looked on top of their game recently. So this is going to be a very difficult challenge for them. And Oregon really is that saving grace because if they could just lock in an even half, play their fundamentals well, and also be above average on the gunfights, then they can take this map away. But it's going to be a damn big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just have a look at the at sort of some more closer statistics from these teams. Then we have them. We might as well go through them. Here are Minions. They are actually playing with an E sub today. Jake Forsyth stepping in for them as well. So we can see here they're doing pretty well. Supposedly, according to the statistics we have, their best map is Clubhouse and their worst map is Bank. But we are in fact going to Oregon, and let's go and talk about Zach Gaming then, because this isn't ideal. They played against Oregon against EOS, and we brought up this point, and it's relevant again. Oregon is their worst map, and they somehow keep ending up on Oregon.
Hmm. Yeah. Strangely enough, for both these teams, though, obviously not including Minions last season because that is a different team. But if we just sort of skew the statistics to very recent history with these rosters, these are two teams that actually have negative win rates on Oregon, which is really kind of bizarre statistic because it's played so much. You'd think with the amount of times you play it, you're kind of just guaranteed to win it more just due to that massive sample size. But no, we see Zach Gaming 2-4. Minions played it a bit more. That's 3-5 for them, but both of them still -2 overall in Oregon. So we might see a not the sort of cleanest demonstration of siege here. I think, just given those statistics, we might be seeing a bit of a slugfest, a bit of a brawl here because it's not really either side's preferred pick, despite them both going here in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll accidentally stumble upon the greatest Oregon match that Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege has ever seen. We might even be in for a treat here. I don't really know. Maybe I don't know if you have the statistics. How often is it banned by these teams, and how often is it banned against these teams? But considering they're both negative, I would say that they're probably banning it more. I would hazard a guess and say that they're probably banning it a bit more often than it's being banned against them.
They right, you're really testing my knowledge of the numbers on Wikipedia here. By opponents, you
Okay.
have a 47.1% ban rate on Oregon, and I believe that it should still be skewed towards this new team. Um, by them, to my knowledge, they've never banned it out themselves. That's what it
Okay.
shows here. They've only had it banned against them. So they have maybe been comfortable to go to it, and the only times they've really had that sort of challenge taken is by better teams. They don't really show a fear to it, despite their subpar win record on it. So
Yeah,
maybe they've just been waiting for an easier opponent to rock up, and then they can take them there and absolutely dismantle them. We could
yeah.
still see a very strong performance from either of these teams. Going on to Zach Gaming, then if we just do the same old thing, we
Yeah,
can
well, that's
see
perhaps
that.
what I was wondering, that like maybe they just happen to always come against stronger opponents. Maybe it's in like a best of three, you lose Oregon, but you still win the series, something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, Zach Gaming. Now that we're running the numbers.
Yeah, they've actually banned it 42% of the time, so a little bit of symmetry there between the two teams. And against them, it's been banned twice, so that's 16.7%. So overall, they look to be more of the team that is actually afraid of going there compared to other teams not wanting to take them there.
Yeah, I am a little bit confused by this Oregon that's coming out of Zach Gaming, because we saw that it didn't go to plan against EOS, right? That was literally on Sunday. Sure, maybe they've VOD reviewed it. They're like, we know what we're gonna do better this time, but it seemed like a bit of a poor pick then, and it seems like a bit of a poor pick now, to be completely honest. Just
Hmm.
because they don't have the greatest history. We saw them get pretty much dismantled by EOS just a few days ago. Um, and again, maybe that's just served to boost their confidence to go, we know where we went wrong. We can do it better this time. But when you already have a negative record on that map as well, it just doesn't add up to success in my mind.
Yeah, and we said a lot about that map when we last casted here. It was a map as well where Zach Gaming were given a lot of opportunities by EOS. They played very aggressively, but Zach Gaming could just never really actually secure that advantage there. So they're really going to need to play a lot better here when you just look at some of the players, especially it's just the overall almost UK console siege style tends to be more about taking those engagements, not waiting, instead pushing the issue yourself. So if Zach Gaming still aren't prepared to deal with that and still sort of can't fight against that, they're going to have a very big problem ahead of them here with minions. So you'd hope the VOD review has been successful, or else, yeah, this is not a very smart map pick at all.
Okay, so we have we have an update on the match. So um, it's going to be played as a 4 versus 5. Minions, their fifth player has gone MIA. So they've opted to play the game 4 versus 5. And also because they've already been delayed by like 5 minutes and then another 2 minutes. They also start at 1-0 down. So they've already lost a defense on Oregon, like already. So because of that, we can't do the bans properly in game.
Yeah.
So we're kind of doing a bit of a ghetto setup. Minions obviously would start on the defense. They get the first attacking ban. That's Montaigne. Zach Gaming then ban Ying and Azami. And Minions then ban Clash. So not a fan of the shield operators. We will just run that through you again. Minions ban Montaigne and Clash. Zach Gaming ban Ying and Azami.
Yeah, another thing to note, we're running on a delayed feed, so this match, although we're talking about all these bans happening now, we're going to see it, I believe, in around 3 minutes' time. So
Yes.
we might just head to a break here. But keep in mind, 0-1 down for Minions, also playing a 4v5. Suddenly, the tables have turned on them.
Yeah.
So we'll get into what is surely going to be a crazy map of Oregon here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be a couple of minutes and we'll get you straight into the action.
Well, here we are. Oregon. Thank you all for sticking around. We're going to head into the game now. As we said, Minions are starting off with a 1-0 penalty, and they're playing 4 versus 5. The band's at the top there. Montaigne, Clash, Ying, Azami. As we head into this one, Joe, so we can't quite rely on the same sort of standard rotations and whatever. And another thing to point out again, already an attacking round one on Oregon for Zach Gaming could end up being a deciding factor here.
It's so good having that first attacking win there immediately. It's a lot less pressure on your shoulders because now suddenly only 2 attacking wins needed to have a decent half. If you get 3, suddenly you're looking very, very strong heading into that defensive portion. So yeah, this is huge for Zach Gaming here, really, and they've been gifted it by minions who are only 4 players, as you said. That limits so much of what you can do. I don't really expect to see many kind of wider roams, or else if you do, expect Zach Gaming to very quickly pounce on the site, because there just simply isn't the manpower on this defensive side to deal with all these options anymore. Suddenly, you have to start making guesses, start making reads, start making risks as well to just try and deal with the attacking push, because you can't deal with all options now.
Yeah, and I think it will also especially become a problem on the attack when you're trying to fight into a setup that's got more players than you can actually deal with it yourself. On the defense, there is a bit more opportunity to sort of sit back, hold angles, everything like that, but it is still going to be a challenge for them as this door gets opened up early. Rush is able to find the first kill onto Zello, just completely unaware of the positioning of the Warden downstairs, and walks straight into the sightline. Easy pick off, and there's no opportunity for Zach Gaming to trade it. So pretty immediately, that's made a 4 versus 4. Opening pick just leveling things out as Yuri finds a kill onto Jake Forsyth. So it's been a trade, but they're still ahead of Zach Gaming.
Yeah, that's just the impact of that overall man disadvantage. A trade isn't really even a trade at that point for the attack. It's a direct sort of bonus for them, as Tom gifted a bit of a freebie there, but misses the shot. Still wants to re-engage, going once again, as Rush ends up getting a second on the round, really managing to keep minions still in this, as we're seeing an attic take here from Zach Gaming, but I don't really think that's necessary. There's such little kind of defender presence elsewhere that bottling yourself in there really allows the defense to play their game. So this could still very easily end up in a minions win, especially if this attack remains as one-dimensional as it seems here. We're seeing a bit more drone work if they assume they're going to spot Tom here on this position, who can't really get away with any picks so far. But if he just wastes a bit more time, 20 seconds is all you need. The rest of those players can, as I say that, Jawa, the frag grenades newly installed on that gridlock, take him out, and suddenly, yeah, things just fully in favor of Zach Gaming here. Alex Norley tries his best, gets 1 though. 2 versus 2, but with these players encroaching from both sides, Rush doesn't care, gets his 3rd in the round, and suddenly Zach Gaming starting to stress here in a 1v2.
Yeah, risk here on the Maverick. Last player alive inside of Attic, peeking towards Pit, and is going to take the drop. Flashbang goes out, maybe just to mask some of the sound, blind some of the vision as well. Rush is still playing the Warden, so that's not going to affect him too much, as Risk now swings in towards the main hall. Diffuser still surrendered where Blasari died about a minute or 2 ago. Rush does get felled, but still Diffuser in no man's land. The Vulcan canister is setting on flames as well. As the timer continues to tick down, Risk just watching, waiting, does not know where Alex Northy is positioned, and is just having to try and take these gunfights. As Alex Northy now starting to come up those white stairs, the plant has been baited, and Risk, he goes through the line of sight and spots out the Solis, and that's going to be really dangerous, because obviously the Solis can just use that gadget from downstairs, shoot through the floor. Where is Alex Northy? No, he's decided to take this rotation up the stairs. Risk gets off it. He could have secured the plant, and Alex Northy wins the round. I thought he wasn't looking in just the right place, but he's still able to find the kill at just the last second. Poorly played by Risk, who honestly could have just stuck the plant, but instead it's not to be, and minions just about win their first round.
Yeah, and sad thing is, Risk played that quite well initially. He knew the last was the Solace, but he didn't choose to plant on that hard flooring because it would expose him from so many other angles. Instead, takes the gamble that Alex Northy wants to take that fight head on, goes for a much more sort of safe plant spot at the risk of that soft flooring, and it initially pays off, but yeah, you said there, he just doesn't fully commit, doesn't stick the defuse, and it gives Alex Northy the time to slip in. The clock is in single digits, Risk under so much pressure there, and he loses the gunfight. Really nice play from minions there, from Rush particularly. The aggression shown from him to even out that man count and continue things being in favor of minions was very, very vital to that victory in the round there. But it's a strategy that you might not be able to rely on. If Zachary Gaming just play a little bit more sort of defensive, a little bit more passive, holding some of those angles, because they've got a lot of time here and not really much to clear with one defender already off the board. If they just play that more sort of conservative style, they could very easily get gifted a free kill if Rush continues to be that aggressive.
Rush is sticking over onto the mute now. So potentially a bit less of the aggression we're going to see come through. As it looks like this attacking side is just trying to take control of the big tower, get control of bunker, at least apply some pressure towards that position and get things going from there. Alex Northey roaming upstairs inside of attic opens up that wall. Rush is actually going for these aggressive fights over on those big tower stairs. He needs to be careful. He could get shot through the wall here by the Hibana of Blasari if they're aware of this position. Instead, just a frag grenade being prepped, but he swings out regardless, and the nade kills him post-mortem. Yuri still finds the kill, and that's a direct trade from those two players. 3 versus 4 minions. Again, we get that trade to come through, and they're at the man disadvantage.
Yeah, and it's like I said, Rush continuing to get aggressive. Sure, it pays off initially, but the trade comes through. Alex Northey, speaking of aggression, goes for a very risky punch there and doesn't quite cover all of his angles. Almost gets taken down, but he remains alive and he remains a threat. And if he can even get onto that top floor, he could stall Zach Gaming for an even longer amount of time. Instead, he seems just to be lingering around that dining position. And Zach Gaming don't really care. They're just taking picks left and right. 2 versus 4 now as they're taking sight here with Alex Northey still quite a far away. Coming down white now. He's basically not got any kind of sight pressure whatsoever as it becomes a 1v4 all on the Solus. Vaults out, can't even get one. Blasari, an incredible 2-piece from him to end out that round. And minions, they thought they had something going, but things just haven't quite clicked on the basement.
No, and the basement's usually one of the better sites to defend. This is just sort of showcasing some of those limitations that you have when you're playing 4 against 5. You are almost forced to take these more aggressive gunfights. It just doesn't work out.
No, it absolutely doesn't. It's the sort of double-edged nature of that playstyle, as we sort of alluded to. Yeah, if it's caught off guard, you can get a lot of free damage, free picks, but they knew exactly what Rush was playing at on those tower stairs, that they sort of predict it to a T. They have that sort of double plan of send the floors drone in, and at the very least you'll have some kind of nade nearby and a player for a trade. Rush wasn't getting out of that situation alive, and they read into it beautifully, and for minions, they're still just feeling the effects of that lowered man count. If that was a 5v5, that trade really still favors the defense, right? Because you lose a mute, that's all sort of place down utility aside from the nitro cell, and you're exchanging a thinker for that incredible trade. Not so much when you're still trailing down a man. So expect to see a bit more passive play from minions here. They're in the basement as well, so they can very easily win off of a straight man disadvantage throughout the round if they just play their angles, play their hold. But we're still seeing Rush getting out there. I'm not sure if this is the play, to be honest, with how easily they dispatched of him last round, Cameron.
Yeah, just take a look at the top right of your screen. Count them, that's 12 flash grenades, 4 of the players bringing them along. I didn't even realize that the overlay could stack those three lines on there, to be honest. So, at least that's something new. Rush has been droned out as well. There's a second drone that spotted his reposition inside of Split. Blasari is going to try and go for that kill. Perfectly isolated the gunfight. We said that the aggression might not be the play, and now Jake Forsyth is going to try and go for an aggressive swing, and Blasari nearly nails him as well. Sure, he might have found the opening death inside of the first round, but after that, Blasari has been popping off. 3 kills already inside of these 3 rounds, and Yuri has found another. Dips down those back tower stairs, takes down Tom, and now it's a 2 versus 5. Minions have not been able to get anything here on the basement so far. That first round feeling a bit like a fluke. Blasari spots Jake Forsyth. Some shots are exchanged, but it's not going to be enough. Alex Northey through the flashbangs is going to find one. Zello takes him down, but Yuri on the swing in. Doesn't matter that he's nearsighted. Bly that Fenrir fear mine. And Jake Forsyth can get one, but Blasari shuts him down. It's another round for Zach Gaming. They've already found 3. It just goes from bad to worse. It just goes from bad to worse. It's
really sad, Minions, they're trying their best.
We were bigging up Minions in the pre-game.
We were bigging them up so much.
Going like this.
Yeah, it's the case of they're playing these rounds fairly close. Obviously, they're having to get a bit more aggressive because of their situation, and that does lead to them conceding that first pick quite a lot. But still, when it gets down to sight, they're very good at trading themselves out, but a trade just ain't going to cut it here. For situations that whatever out of your control, you've still got yourself into this situation now. You still need to be playing around said situation, and they're still playing this like a 5v5, and that's just not going to cut it. They can't use those same strategies here, and I just want to see them play a bit more passively. Rush on the Capcan, so sure, great way of adding up that chip damage. You know, I doubt Zach Gaming are going to be paying that much attention given the fact that they're already in that advantage. They aren't going to be as on edge as they are entering it as a 5v5, so maybe, potentially, you get a pick with that. But if he's still sort of roaming on his own away from sight, he's just going to get pinched out yet again. So they need to just play a bit closer to sight here. But Cameron, I'm seeing a blue outline far, far away from that second floor. And I can't help but think that they're going to be a very early death here.
You can see the Capcan traps as well being spotted, droned out, pinged on the side of those attackers, and now they're just going to be making extra sure that each of these doorways that they go through don't have any of those EDDs on them, because otherwise they could get a very explosive surprise. So, you know, attack have kind of nullified that one already. Sure, it might take them a little bit of extra time. Never mind, Yuri just goes in through it anyway. They knew that there were Capcan traps. Like, we saw them pings as well, so it's an interesting one from them, and I feel like, has that another one gone off, or was that an impact grenade? Rush actually goes aggressive, finds one. Still, Yuri's downed inside of Armory. I don't know if they're aware of that fact. They got the player that was going for the revive. Rush now taken down by a grenade. Blasari's been spotted out by that default camera. Can pick up Yuri. So back to a 4 versus 3 yet again for this attack inside of Zach Gaming. Make it a 2 versus 3 as Blasari just continues to fry this defensive side as Yuri also finds another pick. It's on Tom. He's not got a kill so far in this game. Can't even hit the drone first time. It's just indicative of the problems that Minions have been having as Risk shuts it down. 4 attacking rounds on Oregon. Just that one blip on the top floor in round number 2. After that, Zach Gaming have been on fire and unstoppable.
Yeah, I just got to apologize to the viewers, really. They came here wanting a match, and it's kind of just an absolute murder here. I'm making sort of cartoonish noises of sadness, because that's all that's really going through my head here. It's nothing fantastic. Sure, Zach Gaming, they're doing well in this situation with this big advantage they've been given. But there's not really too much to break down. It's just like Zach Gaming go in and kill, and they only need to kill 4 because of other situations. So yeah, Minions really not looking good as we head into round 6. At least they potentially cap off this half with a round win, give them something on their attacks, which, mind you, are going to be even more difficult here on Oregon with only 4 on that attacking side. So this is their last chance to get what should be the less difficult rounds out of the way with. But with the sort of trajectory this match has taken, I can't see it happening, to be honest. They're back on this second floor once again. They were just annihilated here, mainly thanks to Blasari being incredibly good at these opening picks and Yuri being able to just clean up the rest. I just don't know what Minions can do here, to be honest. It seems like a done deal already.
Yeah. Well, I bet Voight and Hotnix are at least grinning from ear to ear with their predictions. Rush, they don't know about Rush's position. Basari's been taken down. That's your Jackal as well. So effective on the roam clear. Yuri, though, does get the trade. Again, we're seeing that happen. Rush maybe just getting a little bit too aggressive, going for the reswing when it wasn't really necessary. Now Alex is going to be caught here by Zello. Surely, yeah, taken down. And Zello nearly gets to 180 onto Tom as well. It's just on Tom and Jake. 1 kill between them so far in this game. Gonna have to step up, find the remaining 4 that are remaining on the side of Zach Gaming. I don't know if it'll be possible, especially as Yuri has taken down Jake. Riz has been downed by Yuri's frag grenade, but picked back up. Tom is also taken down. Can't do now about it. Zach Gaming have 5 in their attacking half on Oregon.
Yeah, and what do you do if you're Minions here? Really, what do you do? You're on that attack now. You've been thrashed on your defense. You can't even go for trades.
No.
Do you just try a rush? Do you try and play super slow? I'm really just sort of confused. It seems like an unsolvable problem here just based on that man count. I know we keep singling it out as the main thing, but that's because it's so damn important. Siege, a lot of strats are built around playing for trades, playing to sacrifice your life to gain space.
Yeah.
And you can't do that when you're already down a player. It just doesn't work out. So Zack Gaming really been blessed here with a very easy match. They've just got to close it out. 2 more rounds remaining for them, and they're heading to this basement, which seems like an uncrackable site in a regular 5v5 match. So here, it's going to be very difficult. We're seeing that Ash, we're seeing that Nook, which suggests to me it might be much more of a fast play. Hibana as well is a 3-speed, although that utility is very, very slow. But with Alex Norley locking in that blitz, it's got to be a fast hit on Bunker, surely.
Surely. Just trying to go for the pocket strats to try and get them through this. One thing I did notice, and we saw it on Sunday as well, is there's a mirror window inside on that Shiko spot, like right by sort of the pillar bunker door, looking in towards E-Box for the defense, maybe just to watch for any drops that come through. I mean, they can't get sort of swung on unprepared, but it is just going to be this bunker rush. In goes the blitz of Alex, and he's going to be trying to take some shots onto Jawa as the push comes through right away. A smoke grenade goes in, but there's a Toxic Babe in response from Risk. This attacking push has been halted somewhat, and this mirror window is going to be so helpful for them. In goes the C4. The blitz is downed. Alex out of this round. Zello finds the opening pick. Yuri another as well. The bunker rush fully unsuccessful.
Yeah, there just wasn't enough of a commitment here as Jake Forsyth. They're still trying to get one. Indeed, he does. It's a 2v4 now, but Swing comes through from Yuri. Trades him out. 1v4. Good on Rush, at least getting one, but 3 others and a full site set up to deal with. There's a run out from Blissari. Rush, you can't die here. Sure.
No!
Sprint coming out. Ooh, that's just... That's one of the rounds you forget. That's just one of the rounds you forget, particularly the
games you forget. This is one of the games
too. Yeah, it's all right. Minions just they did so well in groups. They want to make Swiss a bit harder for themselves. It's fine, you know. I mean, one loss as well. The thing to consider: this isn't like a playoffs bracket. Swiss is quite forgiving when it comes to sort of upset losses. You know, you have to lose 3 times throughout that to go out,
including a best of 3.
Yeah, Minions, I don't think here are going to be a team that should be losing another best of 1 and then a best of 3 on top of this. They surely should be beating some of the other teams in Swiss just based on how well they did in groups. So this isn't the end of the world, but it still makes things a lot more difficult, and it makes that best of 3 a lot more likely, because if you just win every one of your matches, or if you lose 1, win 3, you don't have to deal with a single best of 3. You can hide a lot more strats, a lot more maps, and just play nice, comfortable best of 1s. But when you're losing your first round here, it's quite likely that you might get into an elimination position, which is going to make Minions' lives even more miserable here as they enter what could be their final attacking round. We've got that Ram being brought with a decent gun, but quite slow. Gridlock too. They're going to be making a lot of noise here, and sure, it might be a good distraction. It might be able to overwhelm the defense's senses, but well, Tom getting a pick as well, 4v4. Things looking decent for Minions, but I sense a run out here, Cameron.
Yeah, where I assume, was it the player that was sticking their head out of Master Door? Clearly the defense is just getting a little bit cheeky, and Yuri doesn't want to risk it, goes back upstairs. Yeah, this one's done. Oh my... Oh, that was very close. I assume Blasari's behind like some form of reinforced wall there. Yeah, but that looked like that could have been very, very dangerous for the defense. Yeah, absolutely. Ooh. But Rush has actually just taken Blasari down. Quick punch of the barricade. The Mozzie of that defensive side, none the wiser. Minions have
no mute
an
either.
Advantage.
Yeah, nothing stopping that wall.
Where's the denial?
Oh, very risky here from Zack Gaming. They've not really done any of the basics here as a defense. They were just hoping they could win off picks. It's not going their way at all as Rush gets another 4v2 here with a breach open on site. Jawa just looks away. That could have been a crucial kill there for the defense, but it just slips past him. Risk 2 now facing the pressure. Flashbang is coming from him. Jawa taken down. It's all on Risk in a 1v4. Minions, they're not dead yet from the looks of things.
So much utility.
Risk, fire, guns, flashbangs, everything just in front of him there. Frag grenade as well. Poor Risk. But don't feel too bad for him. He's had a 5v4 this entire map, so he's probably still feeling pretty good. All of Zach Gaming are probably feeling pretty good here, but Minions as well, at least getting one of those attacking wins out of the way. Surely the mental's a bit higher.
Just 4 more to go.
Yep, 4 more to go, and you've got the equivalent of always being spawn peaked in every round here, basically.
Yep.
So,
What's
have fun, Minions.
About? Yeah. I mean, Rush is on 10 kills.
Rush has done an incredible job here. The loss here can't really be blamed on any of the players. It's just sort of circumstances.
Well, it could be blamed on the players.
Well, we'll not get into that, Cameron. We're not going to get into that now. But it definitely can't be blamed on Rush, particularly. He's going 10-6. He's trying to get this space, get this advantage from Minions constantly. And it's just not working out for him, despite these heroic attempts. The most kills in the server here, by the way. But
we've got to mute this time for praising Zach Gaming now. Like I think last round maybe they were just trying to end it with picks. They've actually bringing some sort of strategy to this one. They've got the mute and they have a gorilla on their side as well. So it's all good.
Good luck, yeah. Not destroying that poster. It can be a bit of a random chance with those shotgun pellets, but yeah, they've got a bit of a nice interior decor there. Is Zelly once again?
Don't you do it?
He gets a bit aggressive.
Don't you do it?
He's gone back to site now. They don't want to drag this on for too much longer because with every round that Minions wins, that's a bit more pressure, a bit more stress towards that gaming, and it's a bit more momentum towards Minions. So yeah. You want to play this safe here. You want to play this, dare I say, a bit lame, just going for your trades. Azello's almost been given one, but he's just missing them. Tom, what are you doing? Move! Rush, though, again. Alex Nordy, 2,
Rush is in
the site.
How has Rush been able to get into the site? Blasari should be the next one here to find the engagement. It's in fact a C4 from Jawa from below. Are they aware of Jake's position, though, on this big window as well? Or did they think it was a one-man push? Well, they certainly know now. Jawa getting very risky with it, dipping behind that bunk bed and able to dip away without taking any damage. But now they know of the Jackal's position as well. So overall, possibly a net positive, and they are winning in the HP department as well as Zach Gaming, especially now that Jake has also taken a bit more damage. It could actually be still working out for the defense here, despite that very early pressure that Alex getting a kill, Rush being inside of the bomb site. Well, certainly living up to his namesake, for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's still a mute jammer on that closet wall. Obviously, there's nades on side for Tom. There was at least Jake playing sort of on that ground floor, but he was just rotating as Tom gets swung. Now that's going to make things very difficult getting that wall open now. No vertical nades to play with. As Zella gets a second from this position. Alex, just no clue there. It's Jake Forsyth, the E-sub, in for a 1v3. Can he make magic happen here? Zello holding that main stairs, gets a sight of him, but shoots a bit too early. Doesn't hold his fire here as Jake's just standing there eating bullets. Very low now, below 50 health here. Tries to get that Jackal scanner out, but he ain't going to find anything as he dies to the cat can trap. Jawa secures that final kill. And Zach Gaming, I guess we can call it an upset. They win against Minions in the first round of Swiss for them. But there were some extenuating circumstances there. So unlucky for Minions. But at the same time, we can't really take this away from Zach Gaming. They made the most of that advantage. They didn't throw it away. They played very well for what the sort of situation demanded there. So congrats to them, and obviously they move to those higher up matches.
Yeah, I think one thing to point out is, yes, sure, Minions were in a 4 versus 5, and they played very aggressively to try to make up for that. Zach Gaming did a very good job at actually countering that aggressive play style. They sort of fell for it once, and then after that, they were quick on their trades. They were they were snappy with it, or even shutting Rush down like immediately without even getting that first pick onto themselves, without even making it that 4 versus 4. And after that point, when it's a 5 versus 3, it was kind of an unwinnable round for Minions on a lot of their defenses. Throughout all of that first half, when it became that 5 versus 3, Minions just couldn't fight back from it because that gaming were so good at putting pressure onto that roam, onto that aggression, and using their drones effectively. Obviously, it was risky from minions putting all of their eggs in one basket on a roam like that, but that's kind of what you have to do when you're in that 4 versus 5.
Yeah, and you've really also got to praise Rush there. He was so good at finding individual moments where he could make his impact, try and get minions on an even footing. And although he didn't get anywhere close to winning the met, let's be honest, 7-2 is still
It's
incredibly dominant.
it's
But
pretty
he tried his
tough.
best. He tried his best, and he did a phenomenal job on both sides, trying to get minions some kind of victory there. So you've got to give props to that player, and I'm sure when placed within 5v5, we're going to be seeing minions still do well, particularly looking at Rush. An incredible performance from him that match, and looking on to the rest of Swiss, don't count this team out yet, as long as they're playing with 5 people.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that has been a very high action, I guess, first game. So we're going to toss it to a quick break. When we come back, it's game number 2. Flawless 7 versus Mafia Squad. You don't want to miss it. Stay right there. Welcome back, everyone. Flawless 7 versus Mafia Squad is up next. I'm still Pastor, still joined by Hubel, and we have another good game. We thought Minions versus That Gaming was going to be close or maybe one-sided towards Minions. Anything but. There are myriads of issues there that we're not going to jump into. Instead, let's dig into our second match, and I feel like the matches just kind of get juicier as we head onto the night. So F7 versus Mafia Squad. Mr. Poobel, what do you got?
Okay, right. You said it was going to be another GC matchup, and I think it's certainly, looking on paper, these 3 matches, you'd think it would be more close than Minions versus That Gaming. And obviously, then everything that happened to that Minions match happened. Still, this is kind of, you're looking at an underdog. Flawless 7 stuck true to their name, 5-0 in Group B. Not fully flawless. You've got to deduct 1 point from them there. They did go to overtime in one of their wins. So, I want my money back. I feel scammed by you, Flawless 7. But still, they did pretty damn well there, considering the fact that they didn't lose a single map in best of ones, which is a very incredible feat for them. So, they're looking very strong coming into this. Mafia Squad, not so much. 2 and 3, one of those losses at least was OT, but you're losing to That Gaming, who didn't have a best sort of group stage performance. Obviously, they then went on and just beat Minions, but again, Minions was kind of a 4-person team in that match. So I don't want anyone coming at us up for our predictions either. Another thing I want to point out, I know there's going to be people crawling out the woodwork like, oh, these casters don't know anything. No, there were different circumstances we weren't aware of when we made our predictions. We're always right anyway. So on to the team card for Flawless 7. We have a couple of familiar names here.
We do. Most notably, Hatchie, 2-time winner of ESA Cup with that sort of NHP Gaming roster, I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, Yuki has also won ESA Cup before on this team. They're pretty good at Siege by all accounts. And we saw it. They went flawless through their groups ish. 14 out of 15 points is pretty close, and just a pretty incredible squad. When we look over to Mafia Squad, again, bit of a different story. 50% win rate, and I don't know any of these players, to be completely honest. There are some new faces to me. I don't know about you, Joe.
Well, your knowledge of the console scene is admittedly better than mine, but this seems like a new team on the block who really want to kind of show what they're made of. And, getting to Swiss stage is still decent. There are some more established teams that did not make it to this position. So already they've proven to be better than them. I think we also have Koala on the other team as well. Just going back to Flawless 7, Koala, also a 2-time winner of substitute here currently. I'm not too sure if it was a substitute during the entry days as well. But either way, Man has 2 rings, so you can't really
Yeah.
hold that against him. So there's a lot of sort of talent stacked on this Flawless 7 roster. And with talent also inherently comes a bit of pressure. And Social Vote, you certainly don't think they're going to succumb to this pressure. We don't think they're really going to succumb to this pressure this early
No.
on either. But
Let's have a
there's
look at the
still
talent.
the chance. Flawless 7 have got a lot on their shoulders, and they can't let it get to them mentally.
Yeah, if we just have a look at the talent predictions as well, I'm probably guessing that there's going to be a Flawless 7 sweep. Actually, no. Freddie there is opting to go for Mafia Squad. We'll have to see whether that one pays off. Obviously, Voight and a Hotnix are kind of rolling in it right now, considering their first game predictions.
I don't think that should count. I think extenuating circumstances. One player was missing from minions. I think we just call that off. Return the bets. There's people have lost good amount of channel points on minions there for things out of their control. So I think maybe we give it to them. We just give the win to them anyway. So it looks like we predicted right. But
well,
yeah, second matchup here. We didn't even know where this match is being played here. So on that map ban screen right now, we can see it's Club.
Now,
not quite Oregon, but
not quite Oregon.
Still,
can we just have a look at the Mafia Squad team card again, please, Voight, our wonderful, wonderful producer? Now, if we have a look at this, worst map Clubhouse. Obviously, Zach Gaming, their worst map was supposedly Clubhouse, was supposedly Oregon, and they won the last game. However, again, extenuating circumstances, it was the same statistic on Sunday when they lost to EOS. Teams don't really have a good record when playing their worst map.
Yeah,
that's that's kind of a given.
I don't particularly know where the stat is coming from. When I look at stats for teams, I will just because of how volatile the console sort of scene is, I'll usually limit it to around about just before ESA starts, just so I know I'm not giving credit for another sort of roster's work. And since the start of ESA Season 7, the Mafia Squad on Wikipedia are only listed as playing in ESA. And they've played Cafe in Oregon. That's it. They've played both of those twice. Mixed results on both 1-1. So sort of in the past sort of month, they haven't played Club, to my knowledge. Maybe in some league they have, but anything registered by Wikipedia, they haven't. Now, flipping that a bit on its head to Flawless 7, they've played Club 3 times and won it all 3 times. So things are beginning to sort of once again look a bit more like they favor Flawless 7 here.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it seems like it might be a bit of unknown territory, and as this is such a sort of newer team onto the block in Mafia Squad, there's not necessarily a lot of VODs to watch, and we know that. I mean, considering the caliber of the players on Flawless 7, there's definitely going to be some VOD review that goes into this. There are players. This is sort of a structure that is capable of winning tournaments, and they're one of the only teams in this tournament that have a registered coach on OPL. So it is looking like they are probably going to at least try and do some VOD review and figure out their opponents. But we don't get that here because we don't actually have any record of Clubhouse being played. Wow, I am stumbling everything today. We don't necessarily have any of that video evidence of this. Maybe there's some sort of scrims that they can sort of dig through, but from an outside perspective, it feels like Flawless 7 are going into this a little bit blind. They're just going to have to play their game, which evidently works. So I'm not still too worried about my prediction going into this one, as I'm pretty sure we should also be getting a 5 versus 5.
Yeah, just receiving a bit of intel from our behind-the-scenes staff that Mafia Squad formerly played under Ghost Army. So we have a few more stats, but still bringing this back a good few months here. Still, Clubhouse 4-5, I believe. So still not a winning record on Club. So although things look a bit better across the board, they certainly have a much better win rate when you consider the former team. it's still sort of not looking great when you compared it to just how good Flawless 7 are at this map, how good they've been in general in the groups, and just how good some of these players have played, in previous seasons. You've got two-time world champs in this lobby for Flawless 7 right now. So there's a lot of experience in that roster, and you can't help but feel like maybe Mafia Squad might just get picked apart here.
Perhaps. Obviously, Clubhouse is another one of those maps. It's sort of like Oregon, where it all comes down to fundamentals. There is a lot of upset potential on this map just because, assuming you have your fundamentals correctly and you know how to play Clubhouse, which realistically you should, and it feels like anything can sort of happen in the server. It's another one of those, again, like Oregon. And I'd say Oregon and Clubhouse are probably the two maps that sort of fit that mold the best. It's very bread and butter Siege, and hopefully we should see both of these teams be able to play that to a good level, because otherwise they are just going to get rolled over.
Yeah, it might just be a match that is kind of won on the just the gunfights. And when you look at some of those players in Flawless 7, you look at what they've achieved, they're pretty damn nasty in the lobby. So Mafia Squad, they've got a lot of work ahead of them. And sure, Club, it's nothing as strat heavy as maps of the past, If you were taking this team to something like, obviously not in the pool now, but Villa or God forbid Theme, you think they might not even build a single bit of momentum, but Club does give them a shot here. There's a lot of easy avenues towards the site. There's a lot of aspects of that map which are won off of just gunfights. So there's a chance for Mafia Squad. Once again, like we were saying with that Minions match, Flawless 7 coming into it, very, very sort of odds-on favorites.
Yeah. One thing as well is that Flawless 7 are starting us off on the defense. So
that might have just won the match for them.
Yeah, it is such a map of fine margins that sometimes it can just be that starting side, or just one sort of millisecond, something doesn't quite go your way, a botched bandit trick here, a failed plant there, or something like that. A shot drone in sort of one sort of area, and it's over. Like, it is a map of such fine margins. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to sort of like 11, 12 rounds, potentially even overtime, just because it feels like Clubhouse can kind of play the same way every single time. There is obviously a lot of room for sort of expansion. We've seen sort of Sens, Glaz popping in if attacking like CCTV. There's a lot of room for sort of some crazy stuff, to use a technical term, and a lot of funky bans as well. Joe, Hibana's off the board. Yeah,
well, I wouldn't consider Hibana to be a funky ban. I respect, you got to get the funky ban line in, but Hibana really does make quite a bit of sense here, particularly looking at that basement. There's a lot of hatches that lead there, and as an attacker, you really kind of want to get them all there, and the basement is looking to be your most reliable site to defend, so that's why the Ying goes off the board as well. But Ying also really can be used in any situation. If you just want to flush a defender out of a position, pop a couple of Candelas in there, go kill them, basically. Simple as that. So these two attackers being taken off the board is by no means a surprise when you look at the map.
Yeah, I mean, Ying is just so powerful everywhere. Like, what was her ban rate like at
over
the
50%.
Major? It was over 50%.
Over 50%.
It was something ridiculous. And I'm just checking for ESA. Yeah, she's over 50% banned here as well. Banned 30 times. That's 52%-ish when you account for rounding. 31 times, banned 53% of the time when you account for rounding. And Azami and Fenrir as well are two of the top three, only being edged out by Solis in this tournament so far. So pretty standard stuff. And to Hibana, yeah, might be a bit strange, but when you consider Clubhouse, it's really not out of the ordinary at all.
Absolutely not. The concerning thing for the attack, though, is they just don't have enough bans. Solis has managed to slip her way into this action phase now. And that's going to be an even just sort of added extra layer of stuff to deal with for the attack. You have a Solace who can just roam around, destroying your drones, picking up on where you're entering from, all the intel being relayed to the rest of the team. It becomes so much more difficult to really do anything on the attack when there's a Solace on the board. Another interesting thing, though, Melusi seeing play. Flawless 7 have seemed to still like this operator, despite kind of conventionally falling out of the meta just due to her being a lot more slow, can't really take gunfights as comfortably, and there's just other utility that's better. So obviously, without said better utility in the form of Zami and Fenrir, you do see more of these picks tend to crop up, and Hachi picking Melusi here, see if they can do anything with this pick, because it is still a little bit questionable to me.
I mean, the MP5 does kind of shred. That's like the only thing I can sort of take away
The
from
recoil
that.
gun is always good.
Yeah, it's particularly on controller as well. The lower the recoil is certainly going to be a lot more favored when the kick can be pretty unmanageable for players. Obviously, Hachi is not going to be one of those players that gets easily caught out by recoil, but still, the comfort is nice to have. So heading into this first round then, obviously, we've talked about we're going down to the basement, but we are seeing a lot of this top floor play. Matty is on the Solus that we've talked about being so dangerous for these attackers, and is spotted out on the drone, dips away, does have the impact grenade to dip out of there. Sanzo tries to wallbang, but it's not going to be. Koala as well is just here to back up the retreat of Matty. This is some pretty solid positions here from Flawless 7. Koala has been spotted out on the drone and also manages to get away. Kanzi there on the ram, just not quite able to collect on the kill.
Yeah, still no damage exchange to either sides yet, despite how close these players are together. And Koala, as I say that, gets his head taken clean off by the R4C there of Kanzi on the ram. The very least giving intel to that Solace player of Matty that the attack have reached towards stock and are getting that hatch open soon enough, I'd imagine. So that's the call for a full retreat. We're seeing the remaining 4 defenders down in the basement trying to play for these picks, trying to maybe go for some C4s, although the only actual nitro cell for the defense is in church. The rest of them are impacts that I'd imagine are going to try and trick that kitchen hatch if it gets attempted to be opened. There's 3 can openers remaining for the attack, so it's certainly doable, but with all those impact nades, you're going to have to play a bit risky on the attack. You're going to have to try and play for these picks, play for these trades, try and catch the defense off guard, because they can simply beat you out in this war of attrition when it comes to utility.
They only just shot out the default cam there inside a bar as well, so that's been feeding a lot of information through to this defensive side. Matty's retaken the top floor, rotating back through Masters to Rafters. And another thing, just the setup downstairs is a little bit crazy. You have an entire wall panel opened up here, looking on towards these main stairs, as the RAM gadgets, those boogie drones, are going to look to open up this floor. Still playing with a disadvantage are Flawless 7, but the time continuing to tick down. Only 20 seconds left as finally the drops start to come through. Klein taking some damage, but now it's Senju who wants to come in. Kanzi's found a double. Klein as well. 2 versus 5. Now 1 versus 5 just for Matty. Finds a kill, but it's not going to be enough. Mafia Squad somehow managed to get that round over the line in just the nick of time, really.
Yeah, I think maybe you can pin that all on the ram drone. They activate it just as they jump down the hatch, and the amount of noise that drone makes, I guess, masked the approach, because a lot of those defenders ended up getting caught completely off guard when the execute came through. So very nice creative use of utility there from the attack. It's nice to see that especially when you sort of consider the fact that they were at a complete standstill in kitchen. There were plenty of impact nades. Everyone was afraid to go for breaches, afraid to try and take picks or get that hatch open. So it really led to a complete standstill for the attack, and so they just go for a bit of a risk. They go for that full 3-2-1 execute, and they end up getting the picks they need to win it out. So nice bit of on-the-fly thinking for the attack there, and it leaves Flawless 7 in a position where they're re-attempting this basement. They've clearly seen where things went wrong. Maybe a bit more early aggression is what's needed. Maybe they shouldn't have peeled back to the basement to begin with so soon. Matty attempted something aggressive, but very quickly got scared and came back all the way to blue. So maybe that extra spark of aggression is what Flawless 7 need here to just keep the attack at bay.
They've fully opened up that wall that central wall looking in towards the main stairs again from Bar. So it seems like that is just their strategy. I'm not entirely sure as to what it accomplishes, though. Because it feels like it's just sort of an extra place for you to look. You can't sort of get any sort of solace behind the minibar or in sort of that sort of more default plant spot for the attack. And it's just another place to look when you're in that corner that we saw. Hachi had to look over there, couldn't actually spot the players that were swinging him from the moto. So to see that come through again is a little bit concerning for me. But we'll just have to wait and see what comes out. Again, top floor pressure coming through from Matty. It's a similar story to what we saw the last round. This time, Koala was going to dip back a little bit earlier instead of risking his life by sticking around in Bar. And actually, Sadiq has been taken down by Hachi. Opening pick for the side of Flawless 7. And we have that Malusi coming through yet again. This time, the MP5 does find a kill.
Yeah, Hachi was in a very difficult spot there, and he at very least needs to get one pick. Matty as well makes it even better, but Hachi has basically done all he can utility-wise in this round. So getting one, he's already done his job, but the fact that he survives here hasn't been traded as Matty's also causing chaos. This top floor hold is becoming even better for Flawless 7 as Matty is still engaging these attackers, doing continual amounts of chip damage, eventually looks away at the wrong time. That results in the Thatcher getting the kill, but Hachi's still up here. He can still continue to play spoiler, as I think they might just assume that he's rotated back. There's seemingly no attention towards him here, and he can be gifted with a couple free kills if the attack aren't too careful. Senju walking over there isn't quite sure and gets completely annihilated by Hachi there, forcing a rotate back upstairs. The attacker just completely lost here, Cameron. They're draining so much time.
There's no case. Senju had the diffuser, he's been taken out, and they had no time now. There's only 50 seconds. At this point, they only had about 75. When Senju went down, they've already wasted another, 30, 35 seconds doing absolutely nothing, and they don't know where Hachi is. There's barely any drones able to be watched by the attack, and now Klein just has to sort of wander down those main stairs. There's no case, there's no players to be found, there's no information on where any of these defenders are. He just has to try and look through the bars above, and he's going to get taken down for it. Faison with the kill, watching onto the vertical and just able to thread the gap there. Flawless 7 get their first round. Turns out when you don't need the site at all, it works out in your favor for Flawless 7. Hachi did such a stellar job on the top floor. I just am confused as to how Mafia Squad didn't counter it at all.
Yeah, my big issue with Mafia Squad there is that was a textbook example of picking an operator for that secondary gadget. We've seen that a lot on the attack when it comes to Gridlock. A lot of teams choosing Gridlock because she has that frag grenades rather than the primary utility. This was instead a choice to pick Zero for that secondary hard breach, which, yeah, respectable. You need to get those hatches open. Habana's banned. Ace is a bit inefficient, and Thermite is quite slow and very limited in his resources. Zero has also almost the strongest intel game for the attack in those 4 cameras, which can easily help you if you've got a couple members of your team dead and you want to watch a flank. So when you're in that position on the defense and you know there is another defender who's gotten a pick upstairs, why is a Zero camera not being used there? Why isn't Argus cam not being placed on that flank? And the answer is, it's because they have no intention of using that primary utility. That's why they picked Zero purely for the defensive utility there, and it left them lacking in other aspects that they still ended up actually having on that roster. They just had no intention of using it, and that makes me a bit sad to see that, and it's cost Mafia Squad there a round which still could have been quite winnable if they caught those defenders off guard up top early on.
Early breach coming through here on CCTV. Obviously, the bandit charges on that wall from Faison just to electrify it, but Thatcher being brought along by Senju isn't really going to be of any form of worry, and it's not really important enough to commit yourself to playing a bandit trick from the side of the defense. Obviously, you know, it's a nice area to have, but you don't want to be risking your life for it when you can quite just as easily hold on to construction, hold on to this sort of secret area as well in logistics, and just have a hold on that side of the map. Anyway, obviously it is a bit more risky, but you can still get all the control that you need. It's not worth risking your life.
Yeah, speaking of risking your life there, both attacker and defender exposing themselves to each other on that logistics hatch,
Yeah.
but strangely enough, both leave that with no damage dealt to either of them. In fact, still, as we're entering that second half of the round now, neither side dealt damage with this nade being cooked. Surely Koala's going to take a bit, but no, strangely enough, Sadiq chooses to abandon that as gunfire is exchanged. Finally, the first bit of damage, and it's immediately responded to with that frag grenade into phase him, but he's still in that shower, and that's a very big problem for the attack here. But the ace charge is going to down him right here.
No!
Yep. Bandit downed in the shower, and the first casualty of this round will be to a hard breach camera. It's very sad. It was an inevitability when you see him prone in that position and no one to deal with that breach. So it's given the attack a really good chance to get into this round, and with Kans, unfortunately, whiffing those shots and Matty getting another, things suddenly get a lot more difficult here as well. Whereas the attack were in the front seat with the advantage, now they're trailing and they're going to have to get a bit ballsy here, try and get a pick that's uncontested. But look, there's still a defender in CC. They still have to worry about that. Things just getting very bad here for Mafia Squad, but Senji gets a very nice pick there.
What a shot from Senji onto Koala. Absolutely takes him down into a 3 versus 3, and they have a bit of security where they can go for a plant here. And the good thing is, now that Koala is dead, there's no yokais to be able to deny this plant. Senju has gotten a kill. Klein, again, he was sticking the plant, but does get a kill for it. He comes off, finds another into a 1 versus 2 for Becky. Already low. That diffuser could have been planted yesterday, but it does not matter for this Mafia Squad attack. Klein gets the finish there onto the final kill. As we head into round 4, the attack doing a good job of this one. Flawless 7 are actually being tested quite a bit. I was possibly about to be a bit annoyed at Klein for getting off of the plant when it could have been stuck, but I mean, got 2 kills in the end of the round, so I have no qualms. I felt like I was a bit worried that that could have cost them the round, but luckily had the gun skill to make up for it.
Yeah, they just punished that over-aggression by the defense as we reached that final sort of portion of the round, particularly onto Koala, who had such a pivotal role. It's so important. We actually often see Echo players off-site here, just so they can have that drone available for the last seconds and assist their team with a bit more knowledge, a bit of a annoyance for the attack. But Koala chose to play on the site, chose to get aggressive, and his whole team ended up paying for that mistake there. So he can't afford to sort of remake that here. He needs to be playing much more passively as we get to that late point, because it's such crucial utility there, and to waste it so early, it's plain bad for the team. Looking at that other round as a whole, though, I mean, again, it was just one on gunfight. Strategically, both of these teams are pretty sound, so there's nothing much I can really say to improve aside from that Echo player just being a bit more passive as we get to the final portion of the round.
Yeah. Bit of overconfidence maybe stepping in. Obviously, these two teams are going to back themselves. They are some of the best teams in this tournament, obviously, already up to the top 16. An opportunity for more. Kanzi just trying to open this wall. The EMP grenade from Senju on the Thatcher didn't quite open the wall fully enough, but Kanzi's able to find a panel that did get unelectrified by that EMP, and it's all good. Klein has spotted the Echo of Koala on this drone. Unfortunately, there is a frost mat, so Senju can't just hop in. He's actually going to go for it. Finds a kill onto Koala, caught unawares, and with his pants down, and he's able to get out of there. Senju! Call him Harry Houdini. How did he get out of that one?
Silly gameplay right there as, yeah, once again, it's Koala being dropped earlier in the round, so those Echo drones are just glorified cameras here as Senju is still fishing for another pick here. Got a very cheeky sort of almost crouch angle there. Very one-sided. Becky's going to have to go for a pre-fire if they want to deal with this player, but instead they just fall away. Another player down in the pool table, but still, it's going to be very difficult. At least Becky gets one, but 3 versus 4, once again, Mafia Squad have that advantage in man count, and with Hachi off site here, playing albeit a very nice angle, soon his teammates are going to be feeling that lack of manpower in sight, which is going to warrant a rotation here unless Hachi can get a pick quick.
Yeah, it is a 2 versus 4 on the bomb site effectively. And if that's able to be noted by this attack, then that could be very dangerous indeed. Becky, actually, I don't think the drone spotted him out there. The flashbang's not going to come through, no, Klein. No, that's a diffuser as well now on the floor, and they don't know about Becky's position. That's 2 players down now for the attack. Hachi's taken some damage, but there goes Sanso, taken down by Faison. It's up to Senju, 1 versus 3 effectively, as 2 of his players have hit the deck, and he's on about 10 points of health. This round is done. It's over. And there's Hachi with the final kill. Klein even getting embarrassed in the kill feed as well with the full damage. That's not what you want to see. It looked like it was going so well for that Mafia Squad attack, Joe. Your head is in your hands.
It's a round lost off of falling off the building and a missed drone. You know, when you had such a good start there, you had a great play from Senju, just launching himself into sight, taking out possibly the most key defender on the entire lineup, and then leaving. He doesn't even get traded. He's able to get out of there. And then the rest of his team just kind of flounder around that. Sure, they got it into a pretty winnable position with those other picks, but then how are we falling off that roof? As a hard breach. I just don't.
With diffuser.
I don't with diffuser as well. That's the second time the attack have been caught with the diffuser miles away from where it's needed, and you just end up losing the round there.
For Flawless 7.
Yeah, it's just these really silly mistakes from Mafia Squad have given what has otherwise been quite a shaky Flawless 7 squad here, those 2 round wins. So, you know, back on this basement, we can't afford to have these mistakes again, Mafia Squad. You need to be really sort of vigilant, especially the diffuser carrier here, who this time luckily is Senju, who has been pretty good so far. So I'm hoping, you know, lightning doesn't strike thrice with these just costly mistakes.
Please don't cast us curse it. No, because Senju was the player that got killed on the upstairs in round number 2. So, you know.
Oh.
It's already struck once for Senju, I guess.
Just use those Argus cams.
Actually, it's all that needs to happen. It feels like at least Mafia Squad, they're more aware of this sort of top floor setup that's coming through from Flawless 7. They're directing a lot of their attention towards Hachi and towards Matty upstairs. From Flawless 7, it's not necessarily much different. Sadiq is on the Grim. I don't know if we saw that last time around, but always love seeing a Grim, I guess, depending on how he's used, of course. And Hachi's still sticking around this top floor. Doesn't seem like many drones are coming through so far. In fact, it's just being face-checked by this attack. Kanzi doesn't know. Well, he does now. Hachi took the pre-fire. A bit too antsy, perhaps, and he's taken down for it. 4 versus 5. Mafia Squad have the advantage.
Yeah, and the other difference there is looking at utility. This time it was actually Matty to use both those impact nades in the prep phase. So Hachi still had a bit of utility left to give, and we saw how effective his impact tricks were the previous time they defended here. Luckily, this is by no means a lineup that is lacking in impact nades, instead initially bringing 8, so there's still 4 remaining on those 2 defenders, Koala and Faison. But still, any utility is good to help just stall out the attack and an opening pick as well. Very, very good for Mafia Squad here, as they have seemingly taken down everyone on the second floor. But that being said, I did see Becky, the Mirror, retake some ground on that first floor, I believe. Not quite on the second floor, though. So there's going to be a bit of time before there's an engagement, I'd imagine.
So much damage.
So much damage, but that's impact nades being lost. Suddenly, only 2 left for the trick here, luckily. 2 hard breach things, but still, it's not as much utility as you'd like, as already a drop comes through from Klein.
Klein's gone for the drop here inside of Moto, swung on by Becky, heard the sound, and takes him down into a 4 versus 4, 30 seconds. The attack still sort of running with their heads have been chopped off. Koala finds another kill as well. They don't know what to do. Cut off on the bottom of these main stairs as well by the Vulcan canister provided by the Goyo of Koala. Now some shots start to come through. Sanzo still trying to drop the hatch as Sadiq has run on in,
messy.
But the Vulcan canisters dealt him so much damage. Shot up through the wall. Sanzo, last player alive, and Flawless 7 get it done. It's a scrappy final few moments, but the defensive team comes out on top.
Yeah, not the best gunfights, I think, from either side there, as it very much got tense in the final execute, but Flawless 7 have actually managed to wrangle away that lead now. 3-2 they are in this matchup, and That's pretty good considering the level of play we've seen from their opponents here. They were sort of gifted 2 of those rounds, but they finally, I think, confidently won a round there where they were firmly at a disadvantage and they still pulled out on top. But strangely enough, we aren't seeing another second floor site here. We aren't seeing CC. It's actually bar and stage being employed by Flawless 7 here. And I think sort of the best time to play bar and stage in the half is probably the end, just to really catch your opponents off guard and just try something completely wacky, completely new. We're seeing that castle being brought to cut off a few of those very long attacker line of sights here, and keep an eye out on that top floor, because despite there being no bombs up there, that's where most of the impactful action is going to be this round, on that top floor hold. So Flawless 7 investing a lot away from the site, but the very simple solution for this is to just hit that site fast. Will Mafia Squad even take that option? Because they can easily catch Flawless 7 completely off guard.
Let's see what happens then. Already we can see these clutch drones from the Brava of Senzo coming into the site, taking some of this utility. We've got one of those default cameras inside of the bomb site that's going to provide so much information as the Flores drones come through as well, going to be blowing stuff up there, and I assume one will be used. There's a lot of utility actually being used all about. Was that one on logistics hatch, that exothermic charge?
I would hope
Or
not.
was it on the construction single wall? Those are really the only 2 options that we had, and I'd assume that it would be on a reinforced wall, because, like you said, I really hope it was not on a soft hatch. Klein, though, has found the first kill, and that's Hachi being taken down on the Wamai. A Wamai dying to a grenade is fantastically ironic, but it's also unfortunate because that utility does regenerate over time. Another brilliant kill from Senju, who's been doing pretty well for this Mafia Squad side so far this evening. Just threading the needle on towards Koala, but Faison hits him right back. Kanzi, a second kill, and Faison can't get lucky this time. Klein watching the angle. 2 kills for him in this round. Becky's in a 1 versus 4, just like that.
Yeah, nothing much he can do. Floor being ripped up above him. At least gets one onto Senzo. Tries to turn around, but misjudges where Kenzie is entering the building itself. So gets taken down by that ace, and it leaves us all even heading into that second half. Flawless 7. Maybe not starting as quickly as we'd maybe assumed they would. It's been a very cold first 6 rounds for this squad that we've said has been able to burn so brightly in groups, but Mafia Squad giving them a real run for their money.
Absolutely, Mafia Squad, a team that has also underperformed in the group stage as well. So to see them sort of go punch for punch with Flawless 7 is very, very impressive. And to be fair, a lot of the rounds that we saw Flawless 7 win came through from silly mistakes from Mafia Squad. They could very easily be a 5-1 up currently. If there were just a few small mistakes that were ironed out. However, let's not take that away from Flawless 7. Those rounds, you've always got to capitalize on the mistakes that your opponents make. So, you know, not the end of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done a very good job dealing with Flawless 7 so far.
10 seconds to insertion.
Even if some sort of things have been a bit odd. There's been some questionable choices here for both these teams, you know, considering how much we bigged them up going into this. Either way, entering the second half now. Mafia Squad on the defense. It's their turn to run the basement. And, well, Flawless 7 had quite a few struggles late on in the round on their first defensive round. I'm interested to see if they can maybe replicate Mafia Squad's success here, because they're going with a vastly different lineup. Instead, we're seeing that Montagne, and that likely means a tunnel push. We're also seeing Becky on the Fuse. And Fuse is underpicked is a bit of an understatement. You know, you never see Fuse really, aside from, I guess, a very niche strategy around Clubhouse
I'd say
Kitchen
he's picked the right amount, actually.
Well, yeah. We're seeing this dynamic duo, the Fuse and the Ram, and they're likely going to aim to tear up that kitchen floor and fill Armory with nades. Now, you want the Fuse to do that thing first, because when there's no floor, you can't place the cluster charge down. So, Becky, immediately, you see that gadget being used. It's highlighted on the HUD. Yep, there goes one. You're going to want to just clear out all of Armory, because that stops any chance of an impact trick unless an attacker or a defender even wants to get very, very confident.
So quick.
Wamai almost did there, to be fair, as Becky does get that hatch open, and suddenly, one of the most difficult mini games of Clubhouse easily done there with that Fuse.
Hachi on the Twitch as well is going to be making things easier for the team to just try and get some of this utility cleared so that they can go for this push. Skeleton Key onto that tunnel, and now the moving shield that the Montaigne brings is going to be put to good use here. Unfortunately, an opening pick actually goes the way of Mafia Squad, though. Sadiq takes out Koala. That's your Ram gone. Did use a couple of those boogie drones, but still not all of them. So, not necessarily ideal for them. Matty trying to thread the needle. Just those little nooks and crannies of the Montaigne shield are going to be difficult. And this is another thing about Hachi's Twitch. We're seeing the F2 being brought along. And a tricky beast to tame at the best of times. When you're in a situation like this, feeling the pressure, the DMR could be a lot better for you. But still opting to bring along that rifle, and it could possibly work out. Sadiq takes a lot of damage from the cluster charge. Great free fire from Matty as well. Takes out Kanzi. Hachi drops the hatch. Taken down by Senju. But now the Montaigne is getting into action. P9 in hand. Pistol drops the shield. And Becky is in from behind. Sadiq solo. Klain now also low after taking some damage. It's 2 versus 3. Plant
Sadiq
getting stuck. And Sadiq might actually have the prone angle here. Do they know of his position? Klain's been taken down, but he's able to get the kill onto the player with a diffuser, but still against 2 players that know where he is. The buck of Matty as well going to take his free fire. Sadiq has found him, but it's Faison with the P9. Montaigne doing it all himself. And there is a round for a flawless 7 Mafia Squad. They came so damn close. Again, it's scrappy gunfights at the ends of rounds. And Flawless 7 retake the lead.
We really saw a lot of use out of the fuse there. You know, I was kind of bigging it up, saying it's an old pick, really underpicked, only used for that hatch. But Becky, in fairness, used it in a lot of positions, and it yielded really only positive results there. Cleared out armory. Did a lot of damage to those players playing around the boxes too, thanks to, I believe, that blue hatch. Also, at least gave his teammate a bit of cover. Obviously, Hachi didn't end up securing that kill, but they got enough damage that it only took a bullet or 2 from the Buck player to end up downing them, which led to a round win. So overall, a really good piece of utility there brought by the Fuse, obviously having the ability to deny an impact trick and also break the hatch. Incredibly valuable there. So it's no surprise we're seeing Becky bring that operator again. Obviously, there is the inherent threat of a spawn peak, but look at Mafia Squad. They're rattled completely by that last round. There's no one playing off site, I believe. One player now moving just to potentially get that kitchen hatch, which might have still been left soft. So if Flawless 7 act quickly, they can get away with this. A free kitchen hatch is exactly what they need.
Absolutely, they have a buck to capitalize on that as well. Actually, just driving this Twitch drones through, has spotted out the player that's roaming upstairs. Yeah, there you go. There's the soft hatch. It's been opened up as easy as you like by Matty. And now Koala can get to work just disabling this utility. The EMP blast from the bulletproof camera does not disable the RC Rotero in time. And that's going to blow up that Banshee on that dirt wall, which was causing the attack a few problems last round. It still didn't really matter. Senso as well, getting aggressive inside of dirt. A lot of the attack, or a lot of the defense even, sorry, is now just trying to counter this Montaigne push, but it seems like they're doing pretty well so far. There is a Vulcan canister down there that Senso can pop when he wants to, but as for now, Flawless 7 looking pretty good.
Yeah, and I can't help but feel for Mafia Squad that they're almost countering the wrong problem. Sure, Faison got those 2 picks on the Monty, but it was the Fuse and the ease of access getting Kitchen dealt with that was the key to Flawless 7's success there, and they haven't really responded to that at all, instead going all in, trying to counter the Monty, and it's giving the rest of these attackers freedom to do whatever they really want elsewhere on the map, which is leading to these defenders very quickly getting boxed in. Becky gets the first, taking down Senzo. That's the Legion. I think all of that utility will be placed down, but still, a loss is a loss. It's like no more T5. You know, you lose one gun in this engagement, and now suddenly that inherent advantage you have against a team playing a shield up is lost. And Faison getting ever so close. Matty with another 5v3. These players getting caught from what Can you guess, Cameron? The kitchen hatch. The thing they left open. It's all coming back to bite them now. Senju, you're going to potentially take down Hachi again on this angle. Matty takes that one. Hachi gets his revenge. What's happening? Flawless 7 jumping into life. And Mafia Squad just didn't have the correct defense at all for that lineup.
Not a hope in hell for that round. And I think that's the first time we've seen a lead of 2 rounds inside of this game, funnily enough. I mean...
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
What happened? Like, one thing I want to point out as well is that Phazon actually did go very low. 2 impacts from the Legion, I believe it was Senzo. And the... Again? Anyway, 2 impacts from the Legion of Senzo and the Vulcan canister as well actually did take Phazon very low. However, it wasn't enough. And again, as we pointed out, the kitchen hatch was just too much for them. I'm seriously hoping they get that reinforced this time around.
Yeah.
It looks like they definitely should do.
Yeah.
10 seconds remaining.
That last round was just bafflement for me as a caster, to be honest. Like, you leave kitchen hatch soft. Again, it feels like they were trying to counter the wrong problem, but kitchen hatch being reinforced is like a must for pretty much every basement defense.
Yeah, immediate thoughts heading into this round. We see Flawless 7 finally swap off of that fuse. So instead we're seeing the sort of traditional double hard breach plus the Thatcher. As for Mafia Squad, we're seeing a smoke being brought, and smoke has kind of gone AWOL recently. Ever since losing that shield, seemingly better operators to play, at least that's what teams have deemed. So it's going to be a bit of a different defense aimed primarily more at this area denial, whereas Flawless 7 are looking to have a bit more of a full clear here as they've read into the defense being a lot more aggressive, so that slow fuse pick doesn't really fit in anymore. Instead, they want to be getting proactive, getting out there, trying to stop these defenders before they drain too much of the clock here. And they've already got a pretty decent drone game going up on that top floor, but they're almost lacking in members actually following those drones. So, dare I say, a bit of misplayed utility here if Flawless 7 can't get into this building and can't start really applying the pressure on these defenders.
Well, perhaps. One thing I do want to say, like you pointed out, it's very intelligent sort of intel gathering in terms of the prep phase, because Becky was originally playing on that fuse switched off of it, and there comes in those drones. Again, Matty was following up from one side. I can't quite remember the player that was on the other side of that drone, but they isolated the position of Senju upstairs. 2 players peek in it, and well, the expected result is that the defender dies, and that's exactly what happened. Phazon does stumble into a goo mine, but that's only going to be a sort of temporary barrier to the movement. As we can see now, Blue pretty much fully under the control of the attack now. Kanzi just using those toxic babes to deny that area, but all of the toxic babes that are used now are now toxic babes that can't be used to deny the plant when it comes along, because there's still 60 seconds left in this round.
Yeah, not too sure where only one piece of that hard breach has been used. Not sure if Becky's saving it for Church's. Kitchen hatch will actually remain close here, so a key difference in this round. It's a Church hit here. Phazon providing a bit of a distraction down Blue. It looks like another player heading there to just ally with him, but look, these smoke grenades, all 3 used here, and the plant is around Moto's side instead, so Sadiq has got a big problem ahead of him here. He's going to have to hold 2 separate angles. The attack almost baiting him to go for this Nitro cell. We're seeing a lot of sort of setup work from Flawless 7. Luckily for Mafia Squad, though, not much time left remaining, but with that Nitro going astray, there's no real plant now remaining. Senzo is going to be caught with that Monty around Blue, so there's a lot of difficult decisions to make the Mafia Squad here.
Yep, and they're going to try to go for a fight, and they are going to die for it. Phazon does take damage into a goo mine. It's now a 2 versus 2. Suddenly, all the gunfights go the other way. Hachi picks up Koala, but the shotgun's at close range. Finds one. Can he get the second? No, but the time runs out anyway. Somehow, Mafia Squad, they get that over the line.
Yeah, that's... It was a round. And it was a round that was looking really almost clinical from Flawless 7 early on there. Yeah. Their attacking sort of strategy of their great drone work, great isolation of picks there. But when it actually came to the execute, they seemed a bit muddled. There was no one really... Yeah, that's a bad stat to lose there. The main problem was almost seemed every attacker was watching something else. No one was ready for a trade there. We saw a Montagne sort of as a distraction around blue, left on their own, really. So no one could really respond to said intel. So it allowed for them to just isolate about 4 1v1s in the space of 5 seconds for the defense. Really good play from those two defenders, obviously, but Flawless 7, man, they dropped the ball with that round. That was a done deal, an incredible basement attack there, and it's led to them losing that sort of mythical 2-round advantage, the first time we'd seen it in this matchup. Instead, 5-4, it's just as close as it has been previously, so Flawless 7 have still got quite a mountain of effort here.
We are guaranteed at least 11 rounds, though, and that's what I said at the start of this. You know, Clubhouse is a map that sort of lends itself to trading these rounds back and forth, which is what we had seen for quite a while. At the start of this half, it seemed like something different was to come of it, but now Mafia Squad have fired up again. Sanzo now gets the opening kill onto Matty. That's your thermite gone for a gym and bedroom attack. Well, there's so many of these hard breachable walls that you really want those exothermic charges to open. Obviously, the Selma charges of the Ace here being brought by Becky can be useful, but they just don't open up quite the same hole, and it's going to mean that they only get a vault hole over on the other side of the map. And they've only got vault holes here as well, which is going to mean that your gunfights are... you're taking them with a much bigger disadvantage. And speaking of disadvantage, Hachi had also fallen while that hard breach was going off. It's now a 5 versus 3. This defense from Mafia Squad looking very, very strong, as they might just tie us up at 5-5, and we're already calling that a minute into the round.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Klein is. He's by, I believe, Kitchen, so they can get that mirror window down. There's no potential for a bandit trick as of yet, but if Klein can rotate up
no.
suddenly... Oh,
they things. Faison walked in front of the.
And the impact comes out. How do you deal with Sadiq here now? No nades. As long as he doesn't play too sort of aggressive, you know, doesn't really need to be throwing a nitro outside that breach here. Just holding this position instead is all he needs to do. Force the attack to come to you, because they are not going to want to do it. They're going to spend a lot of time trying not to do it. Koala, beautiful shot onto Senju. Still, don't think it's really going to matter though. 3v4 with a Monty on top of that. Only 2 primary weapons for the attack here. It's going to be so difficult for them.
Yeah, at least that distraction, slight distraction from Koala onto Sanzo is going to mean that Faison can at least enter, but he still can't really get anything done here. C4 is ripped. Faison's going to try and go for some form of gunfight. Senzo still kept occupied here by the Thatcher outside, but Sadiq has actually been able to kill the Monte. Now Becky in a 1 versus 4. It's a lovely shot onto Kanzi, but Klein shuts him down, and we are tied up, Joe. Guaranteed all 12 rounds, and again, I'm going to float the possibility that we might even see overtime.
It's looking very likely. These teams just can't really... They're so evenly matched here, and it's surprising me, because one of them looked so clearly better in the group stage. We were saying Mafia Squad underperformed, and Flawless 7 did a remarkable job, yet to lose a map so far, but this could very well be their first here, as they've just looked completely inept in these past 2 rounds. They had a great start to round 9, but when it came on to the execute, they lost a 5v2. You just can't be losing that, really. You can't be losing those rounds, and I fear that might have gotten to them. Luckily, though, a sort of ray of hope, they're attacking bar stage here. When they defended it in their last defensive round, they got annihilated. So maybe they can hope that they can replicate the success of Mafia Squad attacking what is very much sort of a, well, not even a tertiary site, really the bottom of the barrel to many teams. Obviously, there's debate to be had, but teams tend to stick to that CC site because it's just a bit safer. You can hold some nice positions, whereas bar stage, there's so many fights happening everywhere. Anywhere you stand is really a potential pressure point, so it really lends itself to good teams that can really just fend for themselves.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe Mafia Squad will be that team. They might take us to map point and match point even. Obviously, this is a best of 1. It's only the first round of Swiss. We could potentially see that come through. And that would be a far cry, because we saw that Flawless 7 were the first team to get to 5, and now they possibly risk having match point against them. It's all very tense as we head into round number 11 properly, as things start to actually get worked out inside of the map. Klein using this yokai drone just to get some information, driving it around, getting some intel for himself, and the other players playing upstairs. Sentry's on the Maestro as well, roaming above the site. Obviously, this is a pretty good site to use those Evil Eyes on. There's a lot of places where you can deny plants, where you can zap out drones and any other utility that do come through, because those doorways are pretty constrictive for you. But as this hatch control is starting to be gained by Flawless 7, it's going to mean that Mafia Squad do need to get into action, otherwise they are going to be usurped from right under their noses.
Yeah, and I'm getting a bit concerned here. Look at the amount of utility used by Flawless 7, and you've still got to deal with that, I presume, Bulletproof Cam and Maestro Cam towards the side itself. They aren't running for a smoke plant here, so at least that's something, but still, those cameras, seeing through smoke or not, are very, very strong, very, very influential, because they give the defense an easy bit of intel to swing on. As Koala gets taken down, no chance of EMPing those cameras. Senzo really just locking himself in to try and catch this hatch drop, playing behind that desk. I believe the attack are aware of it. They're very, very conscious about not over-peaking that angle, so at least there's a bit of hope for Flawless 7. They can maybe isolate that pick there, as Faison looks to jump in. Doesn't get caught by any kind of frost mat, but as soon as I start talking, a flurry of kills go the way of the defense here. It's Hachi in a 1v4. Make it 1v3, but still so much effort. With an Echo on top of this, there's just no time here, Cameron.
No, only 30 seconds. He's just going to be trying to find some pre-fires. Already 2 kills in the round. It needs to be an ace or it's nothing. And it has to also be a 1 versus 4. And you've still got yokais, you've still got mirror windows, still castle barricades in the way.
15 seconds remaining.
Takes the drop as we head into red time. Now, at least looking on towards the site, Sadiq does get a bit too aggressive. Kanzi is close on this corner. He's going to take him down, stunned up by those yokai drones. There was no way that Hachi was going to find these last 2 kills or get a plant down. Flawless 7 call a tactical timeout. They want to talk this through with their coach, because they are now staring down the barrel of a defeat here, Joe. And we are staring down the barrel of 0 for 2 on predictions.
Yeah, not looking great for us. You know, never mind the players. We've got a reputation to uphold here, and we're really
There's
dropping
more
the ball.
stakes for us than it is the players, really.
Yeah, look, I get why there's a timeout here. You're on the verge of being sent down to the sort of opening loss bracket.
Yeah.
You know, it's understandable. It's getting kind of stressful, but if you look at it the other way, you're giving Mafia Squad a good minute to discuss how they can just win this final round. They've already looked very strong so far. They've won those 3 rounds in a row now, so very good job for them. They've really brought themselves out ahead and from what was a bad situation. So if you give them even more time here, they might just come up with an easy sort of plan to get themselves over the line here. 1 round required from this team to win. 1 round required from Flawless 7 to stay alive here in Clubhouse. So there is a lot to play for in this round here, and I just think that timeout came too late with how Mafia Squad have been playing. If you just given that time to really calm their nerves and think things through, they might just absolutely destroy Flawless 7 here. But of course, it goes both ways. If Flawless 7 have had an incredible, inspirational conversation here on their attacks, which, to be fair, have looked pretty good on basement, aside from that botched execute, they can still win this. They can still get it to OT. But it's just not looking likely, Cameron.
No, obviously, there could, you know, Croak could have the most inspiring timeout talk that we've ever bore witness, but the likelihood is that it might be a little bit stressed from this Flawless 7 team. Obviously, you know, we've been bigging them up. They didn't lose a map in their groups, and if they head into overtime, they start on the attack. Now, it has been 2-3-3 halves, but the manner in which these last 3 defensive rounds have gone for Mafia Squad, them starting on the defense in overtime is going to seem like Christmas coming early.
Exactly, as it's a pretty slow entrance so far. Luckily for Flawless 7, There are no spawn peaks going this way. They've gone back to the old reliable too, the Fuse and the Monty combination here. So it's going to be a hit towards the tunnel with a bit of support around Kitchen as well. So it's really going to test to see if Mafia Squad have learned their lesson here to deal with this attacking lineup, which seemed to just be so potent against them. Matty just holding this drone here, looking towards the tunnel, is just biding his time, really. F7 still being quite slow. Becky's not even started placing those cluster charges down yet or gotten the hatch open. So, again, it's just such a tentative approach.
Yeah, they are certainly playing cautious, and that could play into the hands of Mafia 7. Obviously, playing as the defense. If the timer ticks to 0, you win. In goes the first of those cluster charges down to here. It's not going to deal with the Electro Claw on that hatch. The utility that Senzo has placed stays, at least for now. Now they might have to look and opt for another angle of approach. Down goes that hard breach charge onto the blue hatch. And that should open that one up. Kanzi has been caught by the RCA return, and that's going to pop the Vulcan canister as well, giving at least 20 seconds for this defense to rejig and set up themselves to go for some form of push around that dirt tunnel to really set themselves up for success as the first of those impact tricks come through onto the hatch. Still 3 more hard breach charges in pocket for the attack, but that would mean that Matty has to rotate over because Becky is all out and Faison is being the Montaigne. So actually looking potentially a bit dangerous for this attack, especially now that Becky's downed, but he's found the kill with the cluster charge onto Klein.
Yeah, but at this point, time so low, a trade might just not be enough. Becky eventually gets back on his feet, and with no 2 impacts remaining, he's still very much at risk here as Hachi's caught alone by Blue Koala. Taken down 2. Hachi gets 1, but Becky's taken down. Matty 2. Hachi and Faison in this 2v2, and no kit again. We've said this so many times. It's all on Faison. Down below, the defenders can just flee. There's no case anywhere near him. He can't possibly win this. We've already seen Senzo rotate up Sadiq as well. Poor Faison on that Monty. So slow. Has to get 2 kills or try and get this Fuser down. It's just not doable. He's eats one nitro cell already. Meets the 2. 10 seconds remaining. This is over. This is just over. Sadiq is down. Senzo is quite low. He could potentially get him. Senzo, whoa. Just hide, my brother.
Oh, that was way too close.
Flawless 7. They've let it slip, Cameron. They've lost it. Mafia Squad take Clubhouse 7-5. No overtime required.
Well then, that was unexpected for all but Freddy, at least in the talent projections. And, well, the social vote as well, 80% voted for Flawless 7. They were so clearly the favorites coming into this. That we said, oh, maybe the first map's an upset. That definitely was an upset.
Yeah. There's no extenuating circumstances you can blame on that. That was just a good old-fashioned outplay there, really. Flawless 7 finish it at a flawless 5 in this season. 5-1 now, of course. By no means out of it yet. They've just been sent down to the first of the lower brackets, so plenty of opportunity to make it through to those finals. But like we said for Minions, it gets pretty hard from now. Elimination matches very much on the horizon now for a team that I'm sure wasn't even thinking about that possibility based on their group stage performance.
No, absolutely not. Mafia Squad have either massively overperformed today or massively underperformed in groups. And I'm hoping it is the latter of those because they played some really good Siege today and I want to see that continue. Obviously, their group, they did have some very good teams in that group as well. And, they had also had to forfeit on that last day of the group stage as well. So, it's not all as it seemed inside of that group. And they have just put on an absolute performance. Flawless 7, after getting 14 points in that group stage, have now faltered in the first round of Swiss. That is pretty crazy, if you ask me, Joe.
Yeah, it's... you wouldn't have expected this coming in. Of course,
no.
Again, you can pin that first matchup as it is what it is. Minions were down a player. Flawless 7 lack that excuse. and they really just got, by the end of it, they looked completely different. Mafia Squad really got into their element there, and they've proven a lot of doubters wrong. They've shut me up, that's for sure. I was definitely thinking Flawless 7 had it, but Mafia Squad in those final 4 rounds just looked incredible.
Yeah, that string of 4 rounds in a row was, like you said, incredible. And speaking of incredible, we have a match coming up next that will hopefully be incredible, if not more incredible than the series we just had. Team EOS versus Molotov Gang to round out the night in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone, to the stream. ESA Cup Season 7, second playday of the second phase of the season. I'm still Pastor, still joined by Poobel. And we have had some games today. First one was a little bit weaker than we expected. The second one gave us a hell of a show. And now we have Team EOS versus Molotov Gang, our final game for this evening. And I turn now to my friend, Mr. Joseph Poobel, to give me some information about these teams.
It's not my last name. Okay, now stop me if you've heard this one before, Cameron. This is a team that almost topped their group. Unfortunately, EOS were in the same group as LDL, who previously Minions last season, who won the whole tournament. So they got second, which is about as good as you can expect from that, versus a team that just edged their way into qualification to Swiss. Molotov Gang, 2 and 3 in their group. Compare that to a 4 and 1 by Team EOS, only losing to LDL. So on paper, and I'm sure Team EOS are going to despise me for saying this. On paper, this is quite one-sided. Now, you may notice some of the team icons above that. Those matches should have also been one-sided, and the team that it was favoring might have lost both of those. So EOS really going to try and break the trend here, and while they've got certainly the players to do it, they're quite a stacked roster, as we can see here, looking particularly at some former champions there, Cameron.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty stacked roster. You've got some people that even go back to the Penta days. You know, looking at Lennox, looking at Tira and Shliwu as well. These players have been around for quite a while. EOS is pretty stacked.
Absolutely. And, you know, if anyone can stand up to the pressure, you'd think these sort of veterans would, obviously. Don't want to curse them. I probably already have, but this is looking to be a pretty strong team. But let's head to their opponents, who might have, by virtue of not being predicted to win, already have won this game. We're also seeing a couple of familiar faces here from MVG, a couple of returning faces, you know.
Yeah.
I recognize my Shinji, I recognize Banquas as well. Charlie too. There's definitely a whole sort of pool of veteran players throughout this matchup that are going to be in this lobby. But still, MVG kind of underperforming in their group.
Yeah, and let's just cut the nonsense and head straight into the map ban just to sort of see where we're heading for this one. 9 maps in the pool, 8 are out, and we're left with Chalet. So we've been really treated here, Joe, to the most basic maps in the pool. We had an Oregon, we've had a Clubhouse, now we've got Chalet. Now, another thing that we had was that, again, I think in EOS's case on the team card, it said that Chalet was their worst map. Now, obviously, we had some sort of queries about that when Clubhouse was the worst map for one of the team's last game, Mafia Squad. There we go. Took me a second. So, obviously, we can't really call that too much. And, you know, maybe, perhaps, the social vote agrees because it's pretty split 60% to 40%. Let's have a look at the talent predictions because I feel like this is possibly where we split.
It's still quite in favor of EOS, and I think there's a big caveat with Chalet being their worst map because every team has to have a worst map. And when your worst map is the one where you're only +3 on it, that's looking
terrible.
pretty good. They, they are positive on Charlie, but only by +3. When you compare that to stuff like Club +7, Oregon +5, they've really sort of stormed ahead EOS here. So having your worst map be one that you're still very confident on, it shouldn't be something to really scoff at. Looking at the side of MVG, they've been a little bit annoying to me because they formerly were MVG Germany, now just MVG. So there's 2 searches worth here. But looking at Chalet, the sort of OG MVG Germany side, 6-4, pretty good. Not quite as good as the others. Moving on to just MVG, 7-4. So overall, that is 13-8, if I'm correct. So
that adds up,
pretty damn good record on there too. But they have that benefit of much more sort of stats on their side. So bigger sample size, you're going to probably expect a bigger sort of win rate. But still, very, very good from both these teams. This should be a very high quality matchup.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, this is again where we split. You've predicted EOS, I predicted MVG, purely just because, I mean, to be honest, this one was almost a coin flip for me. It felt very, very close. Obviously, you look at the previous results, I just sort of felt like maybe EOS had. I genuinely don't know. This game feels like it will be another close one, heading on to Chalet as well. It might seem a bit more one-sided, but again, what can we really say about one-sidedness so far especially tonight's games? Because it often hasn't yielded the result we expect. So after hearing you say that EOS look really favored, I'm quite glad that I did in fact predict MVG as we head into the French Alps and we head to Chalet.
I don't like the insinuation that I'm the one cursing the predictions. Shaliwu, already out of it, it seems. He doesn't even want to get cursed. He's just gone. He doesn't want to see it all collapse in front of him. I'm sure we'll get applause by the end of this ban phase, but they can still ban without him for time being if he doesn't rejoin. Flores, first operator off the board. You tend to see Flores being banned on Chalet. Probably the most Chalet and Cafe is where I still see those Flores bans. It makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of easy to access positions for those drones to get very close into the site. And the Brava going too, as well. Tend to see it quite a lot on Chalet. There's a lot of very useful cameras, thinking specifically around that fireplace. Default cam, a lot of the time you'll see bulletproofs used as well. So it's very nice to be able to hack them, get that intel for yourself, or at the very least, stop the defense from using it.
Let's see what comes through on the defense. Azami again being banned out. Not able to see her at all today. But Ying has slipped through, which might be a bit of a surprise to some, especially considering how often we've seen her banned throughout the season so far. It's the same story for Solis, and she might slip through here as well, and she does, because Team EOS have decided to ban Mozzie. Let's put our thinking caps on for this one.
Well, aggressive. Okay, let's think about it. Let's think logically here. Yeah, let's think logically. Shliru does end up getting back into the lobby.
Just in time.
Shoot head bad if you're an attacker, right? If defenders shoot you in head, that's bad.
Yeah.
Mozzie shoot fast. Therefore, Mozzie shoot head fast. Therefore, Mozzie bad fast. So get rid of Mozzie, you get rid of the P10 Roni, you get rid of a fast operator. Still, it seems like we're in an era for Siege where a kind of comfort ban like a Mozzie, it just simply isn't enough. We're seeing Fenrir and Solis get through this ban phase in 2023. That shouldn't really be happening because you would always want 2 out of those 3. At the very least, Azami's off the board. But those operators are so strong with their gadgets, and I'm really surprised we're seeing none of them here as we enter a bar game's defense. Obviously, seeing that Frost, seeing that Mirror, very kind of commonplace. Tiro on that Goyo is perhaps a little bit different, but still good at denying entry. But I just can't help but think a Fenrir would slot much nicer into this lineup.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The Goyo is kind of throwing me off a bit as well. And I'm surprised to not see either of them, even a Solace here. I mean, Solace is pretty much useful in every single round that she's played in. So to see her not considered by the defense is a little bit questionable. But obviously, we aren't privy to the discussions that this team have, and EOS have certainly proven themselves to be pretty damn good at Siege throughout the group stage. So I'm not going to hold a gripe too much unless it actively becomes a reason why they lose a round, in which case I might be a little bit less sympathetic. Anyway, personal grievances aside, we head into this first round now. Shinji using that boogie drone to open up the castle barricade, shoots it immediately, doesn't want all of that noise to be coming through, as we can see this top floor pressure from the defensive side starting to be whittled away by the attack, those reinforcements being taken out. Tiro goes for the aggressive swing. The Vector is another gun that can shoot very fast, but Shanks is just better. Vasi is also disconnected. That's unfortunate, because now it's a 5 versus 3, Joe.
Yeah, the defense really pushed back. Luckily, they've been pushed closer towards that site. That library hasn't really been touched as of yet, so they have that kind of very strong positioning towards the site itself, and with them at least getting one, Tim getting a nice nitro pick, it's something. Unfortunately, Holy immediately trades them back. Shliwu and Enti now in this 2 versus 4. Again, library control still up to the defense, so there's a bit of work left for the attack here, but with 3 members on that second floor against him, he's not long for this world, simple as. He at very least gets a bit of banquets as Shliwu gets closer. Shliwu actually does end up killing one. It's actually, never mind, Enti down below. It's a 2v2 now, and Shliwu's still in the library, hasn't even had to retreat yet. Potentially gonna get another here as Shanks is getting very, very close. If Shliwu reads into this right, and he does! He gets another 2 on the round, but a beautiful pick from Banquets there. Leaves in a 1v1. Luckily, an impact nade in pocket. He can potentially win this with that as Banquez very slowly peeks that doorway, but changed his mind instead, going back to get that diffuser, opening up another win condition, but no nades and no real knowledge of Shliwu's position means this is going to be a very difficult one to win for Banquez here.
Yeah, no, Tracksting is either just 25 HP. Shliwu himself not looking the healthiest. Just 1 or 2 bullets from both of these guns could end up being the difference maker. Shliwu is spotted. Both of these players know where each other are as we head into red time. The swing comes through. Shliwu, perfect pre-fire. That's a 2 versus 4. One out by this defensive side of EOS. Somehow they dragged that one across the line because my MVG looked so strong throughout most of that round.
Yeah, and that's going to be a phenomenal one for the mental because one of those picks was down to a disconnect. It was entirely out of their hands.
Yeah.
So they were put in a very, very bad situation. 3v5 so early on, pushed so far back, 2v4, and then Shliwu goes crazy. Enti does his job as well, getting 1, and things all suddenly click for the side of Team EOS there, which really brings them back into what was really an unwinnable round, just thanks to outside circumstances. We saw how said circumstances led to minions meeting their demise today, and EOS didn't want any of that, so they played above and beyond, particularly looking at Shliwu there, 3 kills already in that first round. Really good job from him as it's now opened them up with the ability to go to Kitchen here to try and lock in that second round. We're seeing a fairly similar lineup, that Mute being brought as well, and the Wamai 2 this time being swapped around. It's instead NT on that Wamai operator, Vasi still on the mirror as well. So it's kind of similar. It's based a lot on denial and an upstairs hold once again. It's instead just focused towards that other side of the map.
Seeing a sense being brought along by Banquets as well. So obviously this is going to be sort of a center point of the execute. That's what we tend to see when a sense is involved. They are often the center point.
Oh,
that's not great. Already losing one of those. Actually using all of those rollers just to not even really pressure Trophy. For what control has been gained thanks to those P rollers? What advantage have MVG had? Because I'm not seeing any advantage, Joe, at all.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of holding my tongue when I saw the Sense pick, because in theory, Sense is so good, but in practice, those gadgets are just too finicky. We saw the first one hitbox of a football, completely bouncing off, even though the model really shouldn't have. Then Banquas just kind of tries their best to isolate something, when in reality, a smoke grenade does the job of 2 of those walls. Let's be real here. Sense just isn't quite worth the hassle, and unfortunately MVG are realizing that the hard way as they've been left with very little. They're still trying to deal with the utility of the defense, but even a single deployable shield is causing them a bit of grief, and they've got none of those sense barriers remaining for the execute here. Luckily, at the very least, Hakanino gets 1 onto Tiro, but still with such little time and a rock-solid site setup here, MVG have got a lot ahead of them.
They do. However, Shinji's found another pick. It is a 5 versus 3, so a man advantage doubled down on and compounded by this attacking side of Molotov Gang. Question is, can they convert? They had a 4 versus 2 in the previous round that they weren't able to convert. Obviously, this one is a little bit better.
Ooh.
C4 from Shliwu nearly finding the sense of Bankers, who obviously, like we said, potential misuse of the utility there in the earlier round. I thought that was a kill from Bankers there, but it's not to be. This time it's a 1 versus 4. Tim at least does get the first, but this one would be even more impressive for the defense to win out. Again, we're seeing the time potentially be a factor here, though. So there's only 20 seconds left on the clock. Tim does have 3 players left to try and find, though, and there goes
15 seconds left.
that sledgehammer. He's now locked and loaded, compounded, and now he is dead. Every angle possible, looking at that poor Echo, and there's no cover anywhere for him. At least they didn't lose that one, because that definitely could have spelt disaster for the rest of the game.
Yeah, despite the kind of very early, let's call it what it is, a waste of utility from Banquas there, they managed to win out on the picks. That top floor, the defenders, I guess, 2 isolated from one another. The first pick goes with the attack. It's then on the remaining player to try and even something out, but he just gets caught in the open arms of Shinji there. So it immediately puts MVG on a very good foot here, and we're seeing a reattempt. This time that Fenrir being brought, so that could be the difference maker on that top floor, allowing for the defense to play more comfortable gunfights up above, because they look to be very much in difficult spots when we saw them last round. Of course, a lot of the kind of action was based around that sense and what they were going to do, and what they really didn't end up doing anything last round. Instead, we might be seeing a much different defense here, just thanks to the extra benefit that Fenrir brings. It's huge.
Yeah.
You can't really state it enough. Losing the ability to see is groundbreaking and sort of revolutionary for the defense here, because previously it was only the attack, and that was just a flashbang. Having a stationary device that can continually make you nearsighted, incredible, as Shax just marches away into Big Garage.
Yeah, the hatch is opened up, but doesn't seem to bother him, at least while trudging through. Now, obviously, being wary of the potential that there could be a drop coming through, some rotation from the defense. But it looks like no one's actually sort of hanging around that area, so Shanks should be safe for now to at least continue. However, the possibility is always there. The worry is going to be there. In fact, just dips his way back outside the building for the time being. This attack as well, so trying to take some of this utility away from the defense, make their lives a little bit easier when it does come down to that execute. Bankers on the Twitch has managed to zap the Devok Cameron. Did they get the Yokai as well there, Joe? I'm not entirely sure.
I'm not sure either. NT, though, at the very least, if that Yokai drone did go down, has kept this team with a running chance. Takes down Holy here, and still providing a bit more pressure towards this highway position. Shanks now is really just gone around the world this round, initially starting in the basement, now all the way up on the roof. So he's still trying his best. 1 nade in pocket. He doesn't really know where to use it yet, and instead droning himself in. Never a good sign on one of those operators. So maybe a bit of this intel is lacking for the team, with this cohesion lacking for MVG here, as they're already down 1 player. Tira, though, getting very aggressive. This might not be the best play because there's no trade potential whatsoever. Shoots a bit too early, but does pick him up. Case down as well. Shinji's close by, though, so it's still doable, but with 2-man advantage towards EOS, this is going to be a round win.
And Tiro's just able to retreat back to the office. Down Shanks as well through the wall. Nearly finds a wallbang onto Shinji. MVG not able to deal with the frost upstairs. This is the roam. This isn't even on the site, Joe. And MVG are just fully unable to deal with it. The Echo drone being perfectly used there. Tiro's going to claim his triple. Banker's now all alone. Denies a flawless, lovely 180 shot onto Tiro, who takes the drop down from the top ropes, but still 4 players left to find. 30 seconds as well, and it's a close angle from Tim to shut it down. Looks all the way from the kitchen hallway out through the west main window and just absolutely domes him.
Much better defense there from EOS. They really commanded their positions around the map. Didn't go down without a fight whatsoever. Ever since NT got that first, it just allowed for the pace to clearly be set. It gave confidence to those other players like Tiro to get a bit more aggressive, and it did wonders there. And it might not have been sort of down to the Fenrir, but something seemed to click in that round. The opening pick really determined it all. So this might honestly just be a map that is sort of won and lost based on the gunfights and how adept your team is at getting that opening pick, because the difference was astounding for EOS there once they had that sort of launch pad of the initial man advantage. It's just a case of, can they get it? And how will they react if a round doesn't go their way at the start? If they get a bit aggressive and MVG completely shut them down, because we've seen some teams really live and die off that opening pick, and it's not pretty. I'll tell you that right now. It's not pretty if they keep losing that first body. It will be a barring gaming defense, just like that first round. And another thing to note, that first round did not go well for EOS. It was thanks to the heroics, really, of NT and Shliwu. So let's hope they fix their mindset from that.
Yeah, for sure. On terms of the attack, it's looking pretty similar. We've got Hakanino on the ace. Got Capitao being brought along, useful for dealing with that library position, and already we can see those bolts prepping to be used over on that southwestern side. You've got Banquers on the gridlock again as well, using those grenades to good use. Also the track stickers, just using them as area denial. We're seeing gridlock being used less as a flank watch and more as sort of an entry and area denial operator these days. And honestly, I think it suits her a little bit better. The track stingers aren't necessarily the best flank watching utility for them, for the attack to use. Elsewhere, just more control being gained by the attack. Shinji gets in towards Trophy and Solarium. Obviously, this top floor still under quite a bit of pressure from this defensive side. Tiro has a complete chokehold on side of that piano room, and Hakanino is now going to be the first to try and come in to try and converge on this position. NT has spotted him out, and Shinji now taken down very, very low. Those Vulcan canisters are going to come in useful. It's Tiro who finds the opener.
Yeah, a lot of trust shown in that team as Hakanino just lets Tiro slip by. I think that was the best chance there. He's probably not going to convert that kill, so at the very least, feed information to your teammate, but Holy can't convert. 5v3 as Tiro's got away with murder there. Banquer's down. At the very least, Hakanino's still in bedroom, but against 5 players now with only Shanks to assist him, it's going to get very, very rough here as Tiro really close by, just on the prowl, trying to get his third on the round with the rest of his team supporting him. Things have just gotten very, very messy for MVG on this top floor as Hakanino's going to try and make his amends, gets one at least. That's Tiro taken down, but as we said, 4 others, they've still got complete control around this library side as NT just hiding behind a shield, can't quite take down Shanks, but doesn't really need to. As long as he just continues wasting time, we're down to under 60 seconds, Cameron. A play has got to be made now.
Absolutely, NT. Oh, what a shot! The fadeaway! Taken out Hakanino, not able to convert onto Shanks, but still 1v4 made a 1v3 by the Capitao. Para ringing out, but only on 10 HP for this attacking player, and Vasi shuts him down from Library. That shot from NT was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible round from EOS there. We saw, I think, just a pure difference in teams there. Both of those teams, we saw instances of players putting trust in their teammates. Initially, with that engagement onto Shinji, we saw, I believe it was Tiro, not shoot that Goyo canister while his teammate was engaging. Despite knowing where the player was, didn't shoot that canister, trusted his teammate to get that pick. Works out wonderfully. Shinji gets taken down first. They maintain a Goyo canister for the rest of that push. The bit of trust that didn't go so well, Hakanino entrusts that almost free pick onto Tiro to Holy 3K. And unfortunately, Holy 3K just can't convert it, doesn't quite have exact intel on that Goyo, takes him down. And that really is just sort of the key difference. The team almost assumed too much of Holy 3K there. He lacked the basic intel needed to actually get that kill, and it led to EOS getting another round win here. 3-1, 2 up compared to their opponents here. It's setting them up nicely so far, and this is a Clash basement defense on Charlotte. This is, well, it has the potential to go very well for the defense here and can really annoy the attacking team here, but at the same time, you're sacrificing a primary weapon. You've already kind of at the disadvantage when it comes to guns, so bringing that shield is oftentimes almost seen as an inherent disadvantage for the defense.
It's an interesting one, right? Because it could just be seen as fully trying to get into the heads of this attack inside of MVG. Obviously, you know, bringing a Clash, it is incredibly irritating to play against a Clash. So maybe that's the reasoning, just trying to get inside of the heads of MVG. It might well work. Obviously, like you were saying, it comes at the cost of not having a primary weapon, but the shield can zap you to death, which, if you die to that, it's very funny for everyone else, and for you, it's incredibly demoralizing.
Yeah, Holy 3K missing another shot there. I assume he's an ESA. I didn't see him on the player page, so already kind of a lot on his shoulders, but that's 2 or 3 picks now that really should have gone the way of MVG that he has missed. So you've got to sort of take into account the mental aspect of that. If he's still missing these, you know, it's gonna dwell on him. I'm sure that he could be the reason some of these rounds are being won, and yet still MVG haven't got a pick here. Shliwu continuing to cause chaos on the top floor. And a reminder, it's basement defense. It's basement defense with a Clash. There's so much the attack have to deal with in terms of wasting time here, and they just simply don't have the available resources to deal with Shliwu here. So we're seeing they've completely ignored him now, basically, and it's a risk. It might pay off, but if Shliwu realizes this, if he clocks on and goes for a bit of an early flank, things could get very, very sort of messy for MVG here.
Out goes the grenade, trying to deal with the Clash of Tiro. As we can see, Shliwu starting to make this rotation over the attack, still taking their time. Only 50 seconds left on the clock. In comes the hop in. Hakanino with the diffuser takes down one. The second as well. Enti also falling, as well as Vasti the first. And Tiro now on the Clash. Can't get anything done from this one. Has to now switch to the SPSMG, and he's taken down by Shinji. Plant now secured. It's a 1 versus 4 for Shliwu. He's taken down. Shanks had the rappel through that hard wall using the Maverick Torch. Cuts off the rotation. Cuts off the life of Shliwu. And that's a brilliant round from Molotov Gang.
Yeah, they really just sort of stole it away. They just hit the go button on the execute with still sort of quite a long time remaining. They read into Shliwu's play perfectly. They read into the fact that he wasn't going to go for the riskier flank and instead just wanted to rotate back to site. And in that chaos, they get the plant down, they get good post-plant situations, and they already get the picks as well. Hakanino did a fantastic job on the ace, getting those 2 initial picks in Wine Cellar, really giving his team so much space to work with. And it's forced Team EOS off of that basement site, back onto something that would be considered a bit more comfortable, onto that kitchen site where we see a lot more teams choose to defend in pro play, because it is better on paper. You have a very clear and quite easy thing to defend in that top floor. It really lends itself to an extension. You can very easily peel away. There's almost 3 distinct layers of that defense. You have the office, you have the bedroom, and then if you really want to just play defensively, play passively even, you have Solarium, and then eventually you can rotate back. So it's a very nice sort of 3-chamber system for the defense to use here, and that's why they're defending kitchen.
Out well. Obviously, we have seen this defensive side of EOS get aggressive as well. They're not just all about playing passively, but they have been able to use that to some pretty good effect. So being able to do both pretty useful for them. And again, like you're saying, that's what this bomb site allows them to do. Is Holy's actually just sort of going in. The Fenrir gadget, that FNAT Dreadmine, will give away the position, nearly getting wallbanged as well. It's actually Hakanino to take down Tiro. First death of the round, and it's an EOS player. This one might actually go the way of the attack inside. Molotov gang looking pretty solid, at least for now, in this first minute.
Yeah, and we've seen how pivotal those entry kills can be. I'm not sure at the conversion rate yet, but it must be pretty high in this map so far. So MVG, they've set themselves up well, but they still have the rest of this top floor to deal with. Hakanino's fully blind. Tim gets one. Yeah, Fenrir producing such an impact on this whole setup, even though Vasi himself, I think, is down by sight still. It's such a pain for the attack to deal with. Shliwu, though, still getting aggressive, and he's not on the most amount of health either, so it's very, very risky. Hakanino, instead, more wisely just holding these angles, given his current HP amount, is instead his team are coming up to support him, while Banqua's throwing nades towards the site. He's getting more and more pressure to exert onto the defense here, but most importantly, that wall is still closed. Hakanino, 2 of those hard breach charges remaining. Eventually, they're getting an entry point towards Kitchen. This might be another early execute.
It very much could be heading into the final minute of this round. Banqua's just with that prone angle. This way into the site is a vaultable hole, so it means your gun is going to be in a bit more difficult space, and the Fenrir again causing so much problem for this attacking side. It's meaning that they can't go through where they want. Their actions are telegraphed by that sound cue, and it's causing them a few extra issues. Opening up that mirror window, though, will at least be helpful, but it nearly ends up with Banquas falling. There's another Fenrir gadget going off. They now know that Hakanino has pushed in towards that position, but now no more left for Vasi to use. Shanks is taken down by NT. Now EOS have advantage again. Tim finds another, compounding on it. It's a 2 versus 2 now. This could be another 2 versus 4, this time going the other way, but there's no case. Holly has to pick it up, and NT's going for the rotation round the backside. He's taken the kill, taken the fight, and that's what EOS needed for the successful round win. 4 rounds to 2, and they win that half. Now I have a question for you, Joe. I have a question. Chalet, do you reckon it is attacker or defender sided? Without looking it up.
I already was gonna. You caught me as I was gonna. That was my next point. I'm sorry. I already have the numbers in front of me for ESA.
Damn it. Oh.
So we're talking ESA. We're talking European console. Chalet. Ooh, MVG. You might want to start praying. 55% towards the attack. So you're expecting around 3-3. And if my math adds up correctly, a 3-3 is, well, MVG need better than that to stay in it. 3-3 leads to a 7-5 here for EOS, and that would unfortunately see MVG going towards that lower bracket. So I say low-ish bracket. Swiss, very forgiving system when you lose early on. So still, it leads to them losing is the big thing here. So EOS have got a pretty good starting point here, but we see matches that kind of throw the trends out the window all the time. So that is not sort of set in stone. EOS could easily drop sort of 3 or 4 rounds here, despite looking so strong on their defenses. Sometimes teams are just better on one side than the other when it comes to a certain map. There's just no other way to explain it. So MVG, by no means stop trying now, but they've gone for the same basement clash strat here, and I'm not sure if I'm a fan.
Yeah, I have a little interesting tidbit as well, provided by Exia. 4 of the 5 MVG players currently played for Nightwolf Esports back in like ESA Season 5. Because Holy is actually Blacklist, just playing on a different name. So, is actually a pretty cool member of this roster. Bankers nearly caught out there by the Zafir of Shli. We're seeing another basement clash, Joe, which is interesting. Yeah, all but Hakanino have played for Nightwolf, so if you've been around for a bit, then you will recognize that name. Oh my word.
Well, now we can give that player the proper due. Blacklist gets a lovely pick there. Shliwu, though, cuts him down, so...
Oh my word.
it was decent, but unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately for the side of the defense, that pick has managed to keep them in the advantage. 3 versus 4 now for the attack, so EOS has still got quite a bit of work to do, and they're not even sure about how much they've cleared this top floor, so more time is going to be wasted here. And when you're looking at a clash, you know, time is exactly what they love to waste away, so things are not looking the best as Vasi almost was taken down through a vertical hold there. Luckily, 3 health operator in the gridlock is keeping them in the business here, but still very low. And with impact nades on the side of MVG, they could very easily get taken out here.
What a shot from Hakanino as well. Second kill in this round with the SMG-11. Absolutely making that machine pistol sing. And Shliwu's so low. Vasi is also pretty low on HP. The nade comes through towards Bankers, but still not dead. He could actually take Shliwu down, but Shliwu is sort of avoiding him for now. Vasi takes a drop, and he's fried as well. Hakanino with 3 kills in the round, up to double digits. Shinji on those blue stairs takes out Shliwu as well. And that's a defensive round win. That shot from Holy did sort of start the catalyst there for everything that happened in that round.
Yeah, exactly, really. That, and the sort of pivotal part of that is it's a round win on what is really a site that you're probably not going to touch again. So that frees up the sort of better sites that you are likely going to want to cycle through. And it means you don't have to play one of them twice because you've already won on that kind of off pick. So assuming that MVG don't go back to basement and instead sort of cycle around this ground floor, and I guess if they do win 2 more unopposed, they will maybe go back to the basement because second floor isn't that popular. But losing on like your tertiary, winning even on your tertiary immediately is such a good way to start off a half because it makes the job so much easier later on. You've gotten that hard part out of the way with. You only have to maybe think about that one more time in this entire half of the match because the rest of it, you can just cycle through these better sites. That's exactly where they are now, barring gaming with a very, very heavy vertical hold here. Only Blacklist playing on this ground floor is the Frost, so a lot to deal with on that top floor. But again, the problem with top floor holds is if you really want to as the attack, you can rush towards the site and you will get into a position where those holds can't see you.
Yeah, for sure. It's a dangerous position to play. Bankers is up here inside of the library, which is, you know, very, very expected. We're seeing the mirror being brought along as well, but in a bit more of an off-meta position inside a kill box there. But still providing some good information for the defense to play with, to sort of play around, and perhaps it's something that the attack aren't quite used to getting themselves. But Tim has just taken down Hakanino. That is your mirror player, but I believe she was downstairs, not actually using that utility on the top floor. So it's not necessarily the point I'm making still stands. However, opening pick for the attack of EOS is certainly going to help them because, again, we've seen how pivotal opening picks can be in this series.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this attacker lineup. You've got the Monty as well, as long as with that Twitch, so smokes. It looks like an execute heavy lineup, and with another pick going that way, for sure, no more nitro cells. Shangus gets a lovely response though, but Shliwu's already tearing it up on site. 2 versus 4, nothing to really deny plants now, other than gunfire, as Tiro now is applying that pressure on the top floor, distracting his opponents, as it's up to Tim now to get the plant. But strangely enough, Tim is still on the rappel. He is still just holding these angles. He needs to get in this building eventually, but he's still just quite content fishing for picks here, as Tiro is actually going down very low, almost taken out entirely, as his teammate's not going to assist him, but he punches Blacklist in the face, as the diffuser was indeed getting stuck, and it's led to EOS getting their first attacking round win.
Oh dear. That's an unfortunate one. But hey, what can you do? At that point, if you're Blacklist,
just win.
It was pretty much over. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, at that point when you're Blacklist, you're 1v4, you've got a Monty, actively charging at you. Your rotation back down to the bomb site was being watched from below by Shliwu. That round was over. A bit annoying to get punched in the face by a Montaigne. Obviously, you know, some sort of mental factor might come into play there, but, you know, I don't think it's too much to worry about. Blacklist is a pretty good player, is a veteran of the game. So, you know, he's not going to let it get to him that much, I would hope.
Yeah, you'd hope, and he has had some pretty good moments here, and we were kind of saying, well, maybe mental effect. Obviously, that was me believing it was a sub, so there was maybe a bit more pressure on their shoulders, but it is a core member, but still, they've had some shaky moments this game, and you can't help but think that if it sort of all might compound together, sure, getting punched by a Monty in the 1v4, who cares, but on top of all the other kind of misfortunes he's had in this match, maybe that might just sort of make his play a little less than what it should be. Anyway, that was kind of a little bit of conspiracy talk. That it's up to EOS to continue forcing the issue here. This time, attacking onto that other ground floor site. So Shank's getting incredibly aggressive and does end up surviving, not for long. Almost takes on Shliwu though. So impressive from the Wamai here is Shinji. Also taken down. NT instead gets that pick. 5v3, we've said for opening picks. We've said time and time again how important they've been in this matchup. And EOS have gotten off to a beautiful start here. 5 versus 3. 4v3 is Blacklist at least makes himself known, but such low HP, it's only a matter of time before NT shuts him down. 2v4 is already looks like an Executor's on the horizon.
I'm going to be honest, Shliwu's position made me jump. I've got no doubt that Shanks probably soiled himself a little bit in that one. Or maybe he's just more composed than me over here on the casting desk. However, like you said, it's a 4 versus 2. Execute possibly coming, but it seems like they're just sort of slowing it down a bit. They know about this position on the mirror window. Nade goes up, not quite timed. And it's going to mean that Hakanino can get away. However, still going to be able to pop open the mirror window. That's a good position that they've been able to weed out. Bankers is rotating up, and he's been spotted. NT, what a shot that is on towards Bankers. Not able to find the vertical onto Hakanino. But still, a 1v4 is certainly a tough spot to be. It's another 1 versus 4 for a member of Molotov Gang. This time, it's the Mirror, all on her lonesome. Only got about 20 HP. And now, 0. Vasi shuts him down. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. That's now match point.
It is indeed. We might finally see the Overdog win their matchup here. We've had 2 upsets earlier in the day, but finally, we might have the kind of statistically favored team in EOS take it here, but still, only 3 rounds separate these 2 teams, and again, all of these rounds are seemingly determined within that first 30 seconds, within that opening pick range, so MVG, sort of looking at that trend, that's only 3 opening kills they need here to take it to OT. EOS has been a very kind of momentum-based team within these rounds, and they can't really stand up to being in that disadvantage so early on. So MVG, if they can lock down picks early, that will do wonders for them. The problem with that comes with a bit of over-aggression, and we saw that from Shanks in that last round, I think you'd agree. Getting very, very aggressive with very little intel, only had the audio cues of players in library, played his hand, and ultimately died for it. You know, there was just too many attackers nearby that he didn't have proper eyes on, and it resulted in just a horrible series of opening kills towards EOS. Well,
and no proper escape route, right? It was very much I'm in this position and I'm here to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he didn't.
Yeah. He died.
He died. He died. And that's the unfortunate circumstance of that opening engagement. This time, it's a little bit slower, but NT is very much getting aggressive early. Shinji has spotted this out in the default camera. This is something that we've seen come up a couple times now, is that those default cams haven't been shot out. And when I say a couple times now, I mean across the day. Not that I specifically noticed about these 2 teams specifically, but that default camera is still open. And that's a very nice camera to have. Especially now that Shinji might have the opportunity of flanking up behind the Montaigne. Obviously, making that shield absolutely useless has been droned out, though, which is good. Bankers, though, Well, he's certainly spotted that Monty as well. Vasi has naded himself. So, opening pick, I guess, for EOS?
Well, certainly an
but
opening death to EOS, yeah.
yeah, that's for sure. Opening pick because is still a little bit up in arms, but Shinji does fall, so traded out by Shliwu, and suddenly that advantage that was gained by an unfortunate mistake now has no bearing whatsoever. And as the drone comes up, holy, oh, the C4, that's perfect,
Oh!
takes down Tiro, pre-fire as well, nearly killing Tim as well on these windows, not quite able to get it done. In fact, no damage dealt to the ace that is on Rappel. 3 versus 3, Joe.
Yeah, EOS managing to keep this close, but Banquez is still on the prowl downstairs, and they're aware of it, and it's just draining so much time yet again. Banquez, he doesn't even need to get a kill there. Actually, escaping is probably the best bet because they're not going to be fully aware of that. We're seeing NT still lingering around that dining room position, trying his best to deal with that one roaming defender, even though Banquez long gone, making his way back to site now in office, so he's fully defended by all this utility, and the attack are eventually going to have to go under that assumption that he is away, but still, it's a bit of uncertainty in their strat, it's a bit of uncertainty with their intel, it's going to make them be particularly afraid of a potential backstab as Tim has realized he just has to do something. Pushes into bedroom now. Tries to get one onto Banquez, but doesn't. But still, he's got a bit of a position, a bit of a foothold. Same can't be said for around bathroom, though. Shliwu tries to get one, but NT's been taken down in that bathroom position. It's all on bedroom here as Shliwu gets one. Diffuser in pocket as well.
Surely
gets two,
not.
in fact. A triple and complant. Banquez alone in office, but now it's a 1v1. Diffuser really off the cards now. Shliwu knows he has to try and go for a pick, and Banquez understands this too. Plays a very passive, very defensive angle, and Shliwu just wins it out anyway. EOS take Chalet.
There's no way that Shliwu should be getting, honestly, 3 of those kills that he got in that round. Unbelievable play. It's,
Where's
again,
the trades?
over-aggression, poor trade game. That round looked like it had everything going for Molotov Gang, and still, they don't come up with the goods.
Nope. It was phenomenal play from Shliwu there, but yeah, questions have to be asked about Molotov Gang in particular. The man advantage was so clearly there. There was a very simple way of winning that once you get it to a 3v2. Everyone's so close by. You can easily go for trades. And yet these players just stand their ground and they get just cut down by Shliwu. Incredible job from him. Incredible job from all of EOS as they've finally broken the curse. Finally, we have a sort of better seeded team taking a match today. And of course, it was the final day.
Yeah.
The final match even.
Your predictions are safe. Mine, not so much. I'm 0-3, you're 1-2. Still not the best showing from the old Poopster duo across this evening, but hey, things happen. We did have a lot of excitement in our games today, though. That is certainly for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Minions game, it was... No, it wasn't fun. It was a bit sad. Obviously, for those who missed it, Minions losing in quite dominant, in dominant fashion for Zach Gaming because Minions played a 4v5 and on top of that conceded a round because the 5th player didn't turn up, basically. Flawless 7 then got absolutely slammed in the second half of their matchup, losing 7-5 to Mafia Squad on Clubhouse. So
that was a pretty good game.
A very good game.
I enjoyed
big
that.
Upset. And finally, EOS kind of restoring the natural nature of things. Getting that win over a lower seeded team, what you'd expected probably from the other 2 teams above them. And most importantly, keeping my predictions somewhat alive.
Well, there you go. We do have a bit of an updated sort of bracket for you. Now, these games don't show... These aren't the actual matches that will be played. It just sort of shows you where each team has ended up. So in that sort of high tier, we have MDF, we have Sevens Esport, and we have AGM. Those were from yesterday's games. And then joining them are Zach Gaming, Mafia Squad, and now Team EOS in that bottom bracket. Cosmo Gaming, Minions, Wii Sports, Floor 7, Tracker Clan, and now Molotov Gang as well. The final 2 games of Swiss will be tomorrow. And that is E-Wave against Windows Key and Linard's Defense League against Team Aspire. Those games are also probably going to be bangers. Let's face it. That's going to be good.
Yeah, if LDL sort of fumble a bit and lose similar to how Flawless 7 did, that is going to be a nightmare bracket. That 0-1 sort of group of the Swiss stage is going to be hell for some of those sort of lower seeded teams, because suddenly you've got 3 title contenders there, all really angry that they lost their opening matches in the stage. So, we're going to potentially see some heartbreak for those teams getting absolutely, potentially pummeled by these stronger teams. But also, on the other hand, Flawless 7 lost today for a reason. If they can't iron out those mistakes, we might see one of these title contenders dip out incredibly early. So this Swiss stage is going to be wild. Just looking at how it's already started here, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, opportunity for certainly some brutal matchups. But that all comes tomorrow. For today, that is going to be the end of our stream. I've been Pasta. I've been joined by Pooble. We've had Bozamax on the sticks. We've had Voigt controlling the stream from behind the scenes. Thank you all very much for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow for ESA Cup action. Goodbye.